on.
Get on there, buddy. Yeah.
Good evening. Welcome
And
to
we are
the
live.
Musty Wargamers Show.
Musty Wargamers Season 7, Episode 5. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. We have our regular partners in crime tonight. Dan is sort of like, I would say, like a Musty Wargamer, like regular. So, like, I'm not going to call him a guest, and so we actually really look forward to having him. But he's made time like every week, which we really appreciate, to actually keep Rusty and I going forward on things. But we have Bill in the house as a special guest tonight, and so
returning special guest.
Most of you that watch this show know Bill, I would imagine, and he's got his YouTube channel in there as well in the description here. Lance Nick 1525. I can never say that right, but maybe I'm getting closer each episode. I don't know. And so that's who we've got in the house tonight. And we got an interesting show tonight. Like, everybody, I think, is painting. And we got two people already in the house. We've got Chris from Walkabout Games, and we've got Mel or Striker from Modern Minuteman Striker. Thank you both for showing up and hanging out with us.
Yeah.
And we've got two topics tonight before we kind of get into our normal updates and things. Two topics, one being our main topic that we'll be focusing on, and that is historical wargaming versus fictional. Is it ever too symmetrical, or sort of like not enough variety sometimes? And we'll introduce that a little bit to make more sense of that, just to understand where we're coming from. It's a question for discussion. And then the other one is crunchy versus more beer and pretzel style games. Which is your preference and why? Looks like we've got Tim in the house as well from Broken Dice. Hey, Tim.
Howdy ho.
Also, Tim. We've having the privilege of having Tim on the show recently a couple times. All right.
Yeah.
So, as in usual Musty Wargamer fashion, maybe we'll just go clockwise to make it easier, starting with Bill tonight as our special guest. What have you been up to, both gaming and hobbying? And if you're partaking in a musty drink, not required, please do share what you're drinking.
Okay. Well, I guess first I'll do the musty drink.
There you go. Nice.
Well, help expand the screen there, buddy.
Oh, sure. Let me. Thank you, Rusty. I'm forgetting what my powers are here.
Oh yeah, that's good stuff.
Irish whiskey.
So good. Everyone should have their due, right? Every man should have their due. Also, right now I'm painting a bunch of Catachan type warriors, but they're female.
Cool.
And they are going to be up against these that I'm painting as well, which are lizard men with guns.
Oh, cool.
3D printed.
And so I'm playing Space Weirdos.
It's getting popular.
I never heard of that before.
Yeah.
Oh, it's starting to get some buzz.
So who's put that out?
It's one of those Game Vault download, $5 download games.
Okay.
So,
cool.
So by the same people that make Sword Weirdos, you know.
Oh, I didn't realize. See, it's funny. I knew that.
It's kind of a simplified version of 40K, isn't it? Kind of. Bill?
Right. It's just instead of playing a huge army, you're playing maybe a squad of people against another squad.
Okay.
So
like
it's a skirmish type of game. Yeah.
Cool. I knew the 1 hour war games and like Grimdark. And I've heard of like a number of ones that have been popular recently that people have been playing. But I hadn't heard that one yet. Yeah, 1-page rules, and that's been really popular, it seems like. But
yep.
Cool.
Oh yeah, these lizard guys are actually one-page rules.
They're models.
SPF files. Yeah. So
Really?
Yeah.
Cool.
Files.
All right.
Brad.
And you were saying prior to the show that you're gaming. You didn't really touch on it now, but you've been doing a lot of gaming, and I know you've been putting it on on Facebook. But then, like, you're actually, from the last time that you were on the show, you were talking about how you were starting a club, like a wargaming club, and that's actually continued, and you've been doing that.
right. So yes, over the past year, I've let my YouTube channel kind of get stagnant. Because I've been focusing my energy on building a wargaming club. All this,
At least you have an excuse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All this time.
I've just been letting mine get stagnant. So,
as an American, I hear about England and how they have their wargaming clubs and so forth. And I was like, well, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to build one here in Tucson, Arizona. And our club is called the Tucson Miniature Irregulars. So
that's great.
Our focus is playing non-mainstream games. And what I mean by mainstream is like Games Workshop and that ilk.
yeah.
So that's basically our focus, and so it's not just historical, but also fantasy and sci-fi and stuff like that too.
Cool.
So
Cool. Just non-mainstream.
Oh yeah, like I think the what was it? The game yesterday was SPQR, which is a warlord game, which is a skirmish. And we did Greeks versus Greeks, Spartans versus Athenians. So that was
so Warlord is considered non-mainstream.
Yeah, compared to Games Workshop or
Yes.
X-Wing or what was it, Legion or something like that. Then
Sure.
Well, an SPQR is definitely, even for Warlord, not one of their main.
Yeah, that's not one of their
heavy hitters.
That's cool though. Yeah. I actually wondered about that game.
It's not a crunchy game. So we can return to that to a later on topic, right? So
yes.
Yes.
Cool.
So
Mr.
Rusty,
Bond.
All right.
How about
Rusty,
you?
Mr. Bond, I see you have your key.
Yes. Gadgets.
So, you're going to torture me? No, Mr. Bond. I'm going to kill you.
So, Rusty, how about you?
Well, let's see. Today's been an interesting day. It started off really painful, and then it got kind of good. Then I went to the doctor, and it got really painful. Now it's getting better. Had the old spinal injections today.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, fun.
So you're doing okay sitting there tonight?
The area where my whole lower back where they injected me is like, hello.
What nobody knows is you're really on your knees just sitting up.
Yeah.
It's not bad, man. It's a World Series. But yeah. I think, did I show this off the last? I don't know if I was
You did show.
Yeah, you were working on it. You were painting it last time.
Yeah, I was
But
painting
the red one, since then you've put the red one out too.
Yeah, that's my old God Smasher.
That's
All
cool.
right.
3D printed by you, correct?
Yeah.
Yep.
So the old traditional God Smasher. He's out there ready to kick some ass.
Nice.
That's awesome.
So all hand painted, everything on that little guy is all done. It's like I really learned to do a check pattern when I did 60 Orc Warriors. All had checkers on their shoulder pads. I got really good at it. It's like, because now I can do them in my sleep. So this is the newest one I'm working on. So I still got to do the checker pattern on this one and some flame effects or something.
So is that the
might be
same
working
weapon? I don't know anything about that stuff.
like 40K, this would be a battle cannon.
Okay.
So it's a battle cannon on a speed wagon, basically. So it's a fast-moving, speed-freak vehicle. Back in the day, you'd have whole squadrons of these just running around blasting.
Yeah.
But they're still playable in the current edition, or is that an old? Is that more of a retro classic type model?
It'd be classified as a battle wagon without troop transport capability.
Gotcha.
So
cool.
That's what I plan on working on that tonight. I have 24 battle mechs sitting here. I have 16 like this that need to be worked on, and I'm going to have 8 that are red. So I got to put more coats on that one, those guys tonight. So I could probably get all those coats on tonight with all of those, and then move on to the next stage. So depends on what direction I want to go. Drink tonight is rum from Appleton Estates, 8-year-old sipping rum.
Ah, nice.
Yeah.
Appleton Estate.
So Bill, today's your birthday?
Yesterday.
Yesterday. That's what I thought. I thought on the Facebook thing I saw it. So we got a number of people have come in, but Curtis has come in and just kind of wished Bill happy birthday. And so, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Hopefully you had a good birthday yesterday.
Boy, those December birthdays, that's
Did you get
tough.
anything wargaming? Anything wargaming related, Bill?
Oh, I was
he has.
painting up a bunch of terrain yesterday.
But did you get any?
What was the game you guys
wargaming
just
related?
played?
Any wargaming related gifts?
Oh yeah. I got a wonderful gift. Let me go get it.
He has been playing some games too. Now, I played a game of BattleTech on Saturday.
Okay.
So it was company on company, and it took us about 4.5 hours to play.
While we're waiting for Bill.
And we had some guys talking smack to us saying, oh, there's no way I could do that. Just like, you can't play a company on company in less than 12 hours, and we proved them wrong.
Yeah, well,
you're
pretty good with the rules by now, I expect.
Yeah, we can run pretty quickly. What we got there?
Yeah.
This
That's
is
good.
Campaigns of Napoleon by Dr. David Chandler.
Oh, wow.
Oh, cool.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Just in time for the movie.
Yeah. I don't know if I'll watch the movie.
I was kind of half kidding, but
Sounds questionable, yeah.
So
let me tell you, I went to the movie. Wait for it to come out on video.
Yeah.
Now, okay, I have to caveat this way though. Do you like Hallmark Channel?
No.
Well, you know that I love it, Rusty.
How
Hallmark
can you
Channel?
not?
No.
Yeah.
Basically, we joke around that our wives basically, are huge Hallmark Channel fans, and so
My wife's upstairs watching Hallmark Channel right now.
Oh boy.
Well, let me tell you, it's like it started off with a little bit of history, and all of a sudden it rolled into a Hallmark movie.
Ouch.
Okay. We got a few comments. Maybe before Dan and I do our updates, we'll just quickly, just to stay on top of things, just quickly. It looks like Mel's doing some battle mech painting tonight. I've kind of announced the folks that had come in, and just a couple other things. Crown of Command actually joined us, which is great, and actually gets
Josh. Yeah.
Josh is actually has one of those 3D prints of the Gob Smashers that Rusty was showing too. I believe he showed on his channel.
Yeah.
And what else? Chris says, I feel old every time I watch your show with these ancient minis. Yeah. So let's see here.
You feel old because you were around when they were new.
Yes. And Curtis says, nice, Bill, add to the bookshelf. And I'm painting British cavalry for the Zulu War, is what Chris says. So, sweet.
Oh, wow.
So how about you, Dan? What are you up to since the last show?
Well, I finished up. Yeah, since the last show, I finished up the miniatures that I paint every year for the kids' Christmas gifts that I add to their little collection. For the one daughter, I was doing the Nativity, and for the other one, I was doing the Christmas Carol. And the Nativity are the Reaper miniatures ones, and then the Christmas Carol are the series that Foundry does. So I painted those up. That was a lot of fun, and then been working. I kind of I get on my path and stay there. So I'm still working on then, which I got in my hand here. It's some more Stalingrad terrain. This is resin. The resin kits that you put together. They're kind of like a Lego thing. You can put them together however you want. So there's a million different ways to build them. And then it's all modular. All of them have this. Yeah, all of them have the same size base. That's 10 inches by 5 inches. And the one kit I bought came with 4 of these. And it's just a box of different wall sections and door sections, and the rubble comes with it. And then I add to it too. And then you just glue it together if you want. And then you start putting, and this actually has a roof on it too that's obviously removable. And you can put the catwalks in if you want to and where you want to. It comes with just long sections of plastic stairs that you can use or not use, put them wherever you want. And so then I'll put those 4 together, and you can put it any orientation you want, so you can have different layouts each time. And then they also sell all kinds of other kits that are just like a generator. It'll come with a generator and some different parts. There's one that's just pipes and tanks and catwalks, but it's all, you buy each little kit, and they're all modular within themselves. And then you can even combine the kits, but you can end up with like, I think when I'm done with what I bought, and I bought these things 3 years ago, probably 2.5, and I'll be able to fill up really tightly compact, probably just with these kits of probably a 4x4 area. And then, and then I've got some other things. So, because, for the Stalingrad, it's definitely, a lot of rebels, city fighting. I'm not going with any winter snow on it. I'm going for, earlier, basically when the factory district fighting was going on, was kind of September, October. Yeah. And, it was before they really got into this. A lot of people do the Stalingrad board with the snow, but I thought this way I could use these buildings. Some of them could be plunked on my France table, or even like Battle of Berlin, late war.
I like how you can buy the same
Berlin type stuff.
I like how you could buy 3 of the same kit, and from what you said, you can make 3 different versions.
Yeah, you can make, every single one can be different. I've got some without the windows up above, and it's just rubble. You can have tall walls, short walls, and so everyone could be different. You could buy several kits, and you can even mix the kits if you want to make, something even different. And so, I've really liked it. And actually, I'm getting them through, I think I've said it on previous show, but through Frontline Games, and it's Frontline-Games in Texas, not the Frontline Games that does all the game mats and stuff. So it's a little confusing. And then these are Precision Model Designs is actually the brand name on these kits, but they're made to order. And I think it's the guy within that store that actually makes them. He pours the molds himself. They're actually poured resin. They're not 3D printed. But so I've been having fun with that, because that's my goal, is to by next spring, basically be able to have a full, well painted, tightly compact terrain for my Stalingrad Soviets that I worked on a year ago. So looking forward to that. Yeah, that's been my main mission.
Sweet. No, that's great.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Did you have your rum and coke before the show?
Yeah, I had my rum and coke with my wife earlier before, because I'm gonna have a drink with her. We got to have it before 8:30, because then she's going to bed. So we start early. So
Well, Bill dropped off. Bill dropped off specifically so he could jump ahead of you to get a second shot on camera.
I see now. I got the rotation ahead of me. That's a pretty nice move.
Musical chairs here.
Anyways, for myself, what can I show? I think I've shown on a video already. See how I can best show this. This one's probably pretty easy to show, but I showed the tank that I'm putting together, and I've got two more actually, a Sherman and a Stewart to do, and like we're going to talk a little bit about a painting challenge I think at the end of the show that we're going to try to do, but so I have to work on that, but that's just sort of the assembling. I showed today on a video my Howling Banshees, and so actually it's funny because with the whole cartoon style of the early, even at this distance with the light, you can kind of get an impression, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I did basically a lot of black lining and cleaning up black lining and working with like a bit of an older style, like I didn't use one wash on this, and I like that. Like I'm actually going to do a side by side, I think, when they're done, of my first Banshees I did when I started the channel, like in 2011, and they were older. They were more current than this, I should say. These are older than them, but I had a completely different approach and completely different. Back then, I was just still kind of refamiliarizing myself and learning how to paint. So it'll be fun to show them side by side as like a decade later plus progress. Yeah. And I'm going to work on those bases tonight. And I've got this gal, I keep calling them all guys, but these Banshees are gals. This is going to be an Exarch for them, and I'm going to start working on them. And I made my own foundational base layer of between bright orange and red, mixed them together to kind of create like a rich, deep orange, which I'm really enjoying. I don't know when you ever mix a color, you just get like in love with the color you mix, like, because it doesn't come out of a bottle and like you're like, oh my god, I made that. I love that feeling. Yeah. I was working on this guy today, and I don't know if you guys noticed on the Musty page, I was working on him, and I was just getting ready to finish. I was getting ready to put this arm on, and I realized that I couldn't put the arm on because there was like nothing to put it onto. This here, and this furry shoulder with a horn was not with the model, and I was like, I don't even know who I got this from. I got this from like 8 to 10 years ago from somebody. I just hadn't put it together yet. There's no way I'm gonna be able to go back and say, hey, check your bit spin. I never got this. So but then when I saw this piece of fur with a horn in Stuff of Legends, looking at the original model, I was like, that looks too familiar for me. And I was like, there was a time when I found that bit and I didn't know what it went to. I think I got it in a lot with other things, and I thought it went to a Chaos Dragon. And I just threw it in the bin. I had no idea what it went to. And I was like, this looks way too familiar. So I actually dug through a bunch of stuff and then found it and was able to complete the model. And then this is another beast. Yeah, it was so cool. I was like so happy because I was getting ready to green stuff something. I was getting ready to like do my own thing, which that would have been what I did. But in the end, but I'm glad I didn't have to. And then I got a Beastman character to add to my army in the future, just to add another character, to try use another character from the 6th edition book. So I've got that. One thing I didn't show, I did this a little while ago, but I actually I had to green stuff, like as we just said, a hand, because I bought a lot of not pestigores, plague bearers. And the only thing that was missing was the hand that is a separate bit on the champion. It was a pointy figure. The rest of the whole command and all of the other plague bearers were fine. So I ended up, these guys look kind of mutated anyway. And so I looked at the hand that they had sculpted, and I was like, I could just do that. And so I did that.
Nice.
So that's that. To get the show started, I've been drinking just a steam whistle, which is just a Pilsner out of Toronto. I think I had one in the last show, but the actual Musty drink that I'll be moving into as we mature in our discussion tonight is Lismore 18, which is a Scotch that I've never had before. And I opened it because I was out of all my other Scotch, and I was like, oh, I got this bottle of Scotch here because my Scotch is running really low. And I have opened it. It's not just opening it tonight. It's got for Rusty likes to know all the tones and things, but I would say it is very familiar taste. Like it's got a really nice, like peaty, oaky kind of finish. It's got a lot of character in it. What's that?
It's Nyla Scotch.
You could look it up. I'm not sure. It says it's Speyside.
Speyside with Pete. Huh?
Yeah. Well, I that's me describing it, Rusty. So I could be wrong. I was trying to do my best to describe that flavor that I typically associate with it, but like it doesn't. I told you, like this was one of the last bottles. I don't savor it enough. I wash it back too fast to get all the tones sometimes. And so
you gotta take your time with it.
Wow, you're sounding like quite the connoisseur there, Palmer.
Yeah, I drink so much that I can't tell the difference between anything. No. Anyways, that's me. And so
that's you.
That's me. Oh, I did actually play I told some of you guys about it. I should put some pictures up on the Musty page, but I played a Christmas game of Warhammer Fantasy Battle 6th edition over the weekend. It was 8,000 points. We had 4 guys playing, each with 2,000, and it was a scenario.
Wow.
Yeah, it was cool. I should put them up on the page. Like I have the pictures that my friend sent me of all the starting stuff. It was basically Bretonians and orcs working together, very very much. Like I guess how do you word it? Like they weren't wanting to work together, but they had to because there was basically mortals and beastmen of chaos coming after them. There was a construction project. They were building a tower, and basically the orcs and the Bretonians were basically working together to stop chaos.
I'll fight you tomorrow if you fight with me today.
Yeah. They did use the enmity rules. So basically there were rules where like the leaders couldn't help each other on that side because they had because of the chart and the table. So they actually did play it kind of correctly. They basically took a handicap because of the allies rules. But in the end, chaos did not prevail. The orcs and the Bretonians, but there was much victory on the chaos side to savor, and my Shaggoth still actually scared a group of Bretonian knights off of the table with its terror, and then also I had a small band of beastmen that ambushed Trebuchet and destroyed it, and so there were but then like the Grail Knights. So like I guess I'm still learning, but like the regular Knights were the ones that ran up the table, but the Grail Knights, like his number 1 unit came through and just like ran right through my giant, like just ran through my giant, like just basically just turned it to pulverized it.
How much honor can we get out of destroying this giant? What? Let's go.
Yeah, no, they did really well. Obviously they won, in the end. We were not able to stop the construction project. I tried valiantly to see whether I could have my chariot. I was prepared. My chariot blew through a unit and I wanted to just smash into the tower. But apparently we were deciding, since the building rules specifically say, or the chariot rules, that they get destroyed if they hit buildings, we didn't allow that. We consider the construction project to be a building. It's one of those scenarios where you have to do some interpretation. And so, but it was a Christmas game, and we've been doing it. It's almost like a new tradition that we do this big game, and we just have a lot of fun. Like, that's really the main point.
That's awesome.
Yeah, like I always love it. Like I've been on the losing side for this year and last year, and but I still walk away from it like really enjoying it. So
it's kind of like our Thanksgiving traditional 40K game that we always played up until 2000. We didn't play it in 2000. We haven't played it since, but
I remember you talking about that.
It was an apocalypse, so we probably had 10,000 points per side easily.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. Wow.
Yeah.
How long did it take to play, Palmer? Does that take a while?
Well, so in all fairness,
well,
that's the thing. It's like with a lot of the really, really big games, like we got into turn 5 and we did concede because there was no way we could possibly damage the building within turn 5. Like we were at a point where we were not possibly able to do it. But we had 2 breaks. Like we had like a lunch and then also like a coffee dessert kind of break where we hung out. And so we started at 9:30 in the morning and we ended at 5, and that was with 2 breaks.
Awesome.
Yeah, so it was a full day of fun.
Good day.
Yeah, and then just still like we hung out and ate food because it was like I said, our Christmas thing. So
Right.
it was lots of fun.
Well, you're quite schooled in the 6th edition Beastmen by now, or just the 6th edition in general. For a few years ago, you'd never played it, right?
Yeah, I mean, like I still. What I would
That's
say
pretty
is
cool.
I feel like I have a lot more experience with Warhammer Fantasy Battle 6th edition now than I had a couple of years ago.
Mhm.
I took it so slowly, and like I started with Ravening Hordes, and then like halfway through kind of grabbed the Beastman book, and I feel like there's so much that I can still do with the Beastman book, and I'm already starting to paint Mortals of Chaos and like demons and things now, but I still feel like I just showed you some of those heroes. Like I just showed you one of them is the Doom Bull and the other is like a character. And there's just so many things that I have that I haven't painted yet that I could probably go for years still, like just trying to do stuff with the Beastman and not get bored.
That's
But
cool.
but I'm already adding other things into the mix. So it's been a lot of fun. Like I really, really enjoy it. So
Yeah, it sounds like you got a nice group, because that kind of keeps it alive, because obviously you need an opponent to keep the enthusiasm up, and if it's the games are fun, then it's just that's motivation right there.
well, and we're starting 2nd edition 40K next week, and so that's another thing. We're kind of like I have no experience with that, and
So do you have something? Do you have an army painted already for that or no?
Well, because we're like, it's funny. I was listening to some of the creators of the game, and talk about it and the rules and stuff, and they say that like the smaller point games were better, like it was more designed for smaller point games than what it evolved into. Like we're planning on only starting with 500 points and then probably going upwards of 5,000 plus, but not like 2,000 points. I don't think, and I have like a significant amount of Eldar painted. Some of it is stuff I've painted to play Rogue Trader in 2nd edition, and then some of it is stuff I painted to play 6th edition, but they were really old models. They were so old that I could still use them for this. And then I have orcs, that I have like the old models from like Rogue Trader 2nd edition, and then I don't know if I've told you, but guys, but I have like, in the same way that I have like a future High Elves project, there he is. In the same, I got to do that for my orcs for sure. In the same way that I have like a future High Elves project. Looks like a print that failed or something like that. I should probably look at that. But in the same way that I have a future High Elves project, I have a future Thousand Suns Chaos project, and that basically. I have like the original Tzeentch Renegade model where they sold them like 1 or 2 at a time, and I have like 20 of those. And then I have like they're all in fixed positions, and I have like a whole bunch of other stuff to add to it, like original Chaos Dreadnought and metal and stuff like that.
Sweet.
And so some nice stuff. I just want to check on this print real quick. Sorry guys, 1 second.
Yeah, no worries. I didn't think they ever had failed prints. I thought it was just all easy and
memory error code. I don't think I've had that ever happen yet.
What were you printing?
I was printing an Eldar Viper.
Oh, the
and
Viper.
It says,
okay.
I don't know if Chris can comment, but I've never had memory error code come up on a print. It's the first time ever.
Did the thumb drive die?
Well, I don't know. It's blinking. I wonder whether it was too big of a file and I just had too much on the USB drive, and I just need to start again. I'm not sure. Like I need to basically delete stuff on there.
So. Yeah. Every once in a while, you have something that will fail, but typically it's one minor thing will happen, like something falling support into the vat, and
it throws everything
then it just starts compounding itself.
Yeah, I bet you that's what happened. I bet you it's too much memory on the thumb on the drive. Anyways, I'll have to look at that, mess with that, and see. It was actually unfortunate. It was going to be a really long print, but I'm glad that it didn't do it at the end.
I heard.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Well, it
I
happened
was
kind of when it
printing while you were
started.
talking, so I was like, and all of a sudden I'm not hearing it anymore. So I'm like, must be done.
Yeah. Well, we got a few comments in here. Looks like Tim says that he has got 40 pikemen on the table painting tonight.
Great
Successor
states.
Curtis says, don't forget to like the vid, everyone, which I do appreciate that. We normally don't ask people to do all that stuff. The YouTube
like and
stuff,
subscribe, share with your friends, and we'll see you in the next one.
But we do appreciate that.
Sure.
And let's see. Chris says he's drinking watermelon Jack Bean. I'm assuming that he's talking about himself. Or unless he's talking about what we're drinking. I'm not sure. The So Lucky. I'm not sure what that one was for. Could have been.
Yeah, just like Chris said.
Maybe it was the War and Fantasy game. I don't know.
Chris said something about, check the thumb drive. It could be too much on it. I clean mine off. Yeah, it's like every once in a while I'll go in and just clean everything off my thumb drive so there's nothing on it but what the new stuff I put on.
Yeah, I haven't been printing that much lately, and I think maybe I just got lazy because I haven't been printing much, just thinking that I had a lot of room. I probably didn't.
Yeah.
And so, well, like I said, I think it was a half hour to an hour in the print, but it was supposed to be like a 6-hour print, 7-hour print. It was a fairly big one, so I probably saved a lot of resin because it was mostly just supports that it was printing on there.
Right.
Now I hear something going buzzing.
Yeah, I do too.
That's me. That's me.
Cool.
Okay.
But I sometimes format my my drive. That might be a thing to do. You know, because I had that type of memory problem too. So formatting.
Is it a Cheetahbox? Do you use Cheetahbox?
Oh yeah.
And so you just because I know I normally format it the first time. What do you do to format it? You just go in and under Cheetahbox,
you just do it right on, when you plug it in. You can right on the computer there.
Yeah.
So not on the machine when you're plugging it in. You mean like in the machine?
No, on your computer.
On the Cheetahbox. Okay.
On your computer.
I'll have to look into that.
So
that techie stuff.
When you click it in and you go to your when it pops up on your hard drive selection, from your desktop, there you go. That's the word I'm looking for. You can do it all there. Tell it to format there.
And that's why I don't have a 3D printer, because I don't understand anything you're talking about.
I'm not. I know what formatting is. Like I formatted like floppy disks back in the day. I just have to see
same thing
where I need to go in and to do it. Right. I don't know if I just right click in Windows and do it, or if it's through Cheetahbox that we're talking about. But
the file folder.
Oh, the file folder. Okay. So Chris was saying that it was about finding that missing piece. Yeah. Like I don't even want to go on any further on that, but because I could talk all night about how happy I was to find that. Chris says he's not printed in 2 months. Now that I'm surprised about, because you were like printing like a madman for the longest time.
Well, you get to a point where you have super saturation, and it's like I can't print it anymore until I start
painting stuff.
Painting stuff. So it's like I got stuff I could be printing right now, but I'm on a hold right now until I get some of the stuff caught up. Plus, I got a commission sitting here on the table I need to prime tomorrow.
So Tim says successors Macedonian, Rusty.
Yeah, I said successor state. I was wondering who it might be.
Well, guys, we are 40 minutes in and about ready to start our first big topic, and then all the segues that come with that. So basically,
right into the topic on one wheel.
For those of you that were here at the beginning of the show or like heard, our first topic is, I had a comment and you know, like, it was just an opinion. It wasn't like saying that historical war games are less, you know, variety than fantasy or sci-fi, but they just, like, I was talking about bolt action because I'm kind of getting back into again, and there was just a comment made, like, you know, because like a man is a man is a man, it's like, you know, like it feels as if like every army is fairly similar, you know, when playing, like, you know, in like one type of army having a guy shooting after another guy. And they were just saying, like, I like tend to like things where there's a bit more difference, you know, between like my infantryman and the other one. And in fantasy and sci-fi, you can usually get that. And that's just sort of my preference. And I thought, you know, that's an interesting topic because despite that, a lot of people really enjoy historical war games. And a lot of historical war games, I don't want to like kind of be the first one to sort of give my opinion on this, but my only observation is in opening this up is that I wouldn't say like chess, historical war games are completely symmetrical by any means. Like, you know, and so with that, who would like to give their opinion first?
Well,
not all at once.
Well, Bueller. Okay. When you think about historical games, there's one thing of it's like I always like to compare like bolt action to a really good game called Easy Eight's Battle Group or Battleground. I mean, not Battle Group. Battle Group's a different game, but in some ways, I find that bolt action is kind of a cookie cutter game where everybody has the same. You use the same cutter to cut each army out, so everybody's identical. It's kind of like a chess syndrome here, but there's only some minor differences in each army to give them just a tiny bit of flavor to make them slightly different for how they operate, which isn't a bad deal. But so there is something to be said about that comment that he did make about how he's felt that he's kind of like probably looking at bolt action as a kind of symmetrical across the board, which it is. It is very symmetrical, but it's well suited towards, I'd say, tournament play. Dan could easily verify that.
Yeah. Well, but at the same time, see, it's just the nature of the beast, really. I mean, historical, we're dealing with obviously somewhat related to real life, right? So it is.
Yeah.
And then if you're fighting, you know, if you're in the colonial wars where you have a little bit of technological difference or something, or you're fighting, you know, real world creatures of some sort, lions or elephants or something, that's basically, I mean, that's what you got to deal with. Yes, there's no question when you want to enter the realm of fantasy or science fiction, I mean, you can have all kinds of differences. Like, you know, Palmer can say, you know, you can put the beastmen up against halflings, up against dryads, up against, you know, knights, up against, you know, so yeah, your imagination is your limit there. So yeah, by definition, I would say, yeah, you can. And if that's what you, I mean, you could say that does give you more freedom, both in creativity and in, you know, different kinds of matchups, you know, because you can create anything that your mind can and then try to make it through a point system or something so that, you know, it's at least, yeah, you're, you know, somebody's got a bunch of big, you know, huge chaos warriors against, you know, some, you know, kind of light armored wood elves or something that you can, or flying creatures or whatever, you can make it so it's a game that's enjoyable. But I also think a historical game, and from my experience, I can only really speak from both bolt action and like American War of Independence, because I have played several different game systems with American War of Independence. if done well, and that's what makes a rule set, I think, fun for regardless of what your approach to the game is if they, through special rules like Rusty's saying, they can create differences and somewhat asymmetries there. That can make it as interesting as possible. But again, it's within the realm of reality, so that, you know, it's somewhat limited. But like an AWI, whether you've got British Grenadiers up against some, you know, militia, I mean, that's asymmetrical. Yeah, the one doesn't fly or shoot fire or something, but you know, but you still have to, you got to cope with their differences. You might list build different if that's it, or if you're playing a historic fight, you got to fight to their strengths. So yeah, I guess it just depends, you know, what you enjoy. But I do think the real, you know, I think when I was younger, and even like board games that dealt with historical conflict, they were extreme. I mean, they wouldn't have those nuances, you know, trying to capture the different, like in Bolt Action, they try to capture the faction feel of the Soviets, of the Americans, by using special rules, special units. You know, and I think if they do that well, you do, again, in an imaginary place in your mind, you're creating somewhat the asymmetry that gives them the flavor that makes it enjoyable. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of my view on that, as far as if that's kind of what you're getting at. And I don't think there's a right answer. It just kind of depends. Maybe I would say if you enjoy that extra asymmetry or differences and varieties of units and powers and magic, and which, yeah, gives you unlimited, then, you know, fantasy that's your cup of tea, as far as in the gaming world. And, you know, nothing wrong with that. I totally understand that. But as far as on the historical side, if they can do things to give some variety to the different armies, to give them a real unique feel, a different play style, then that's a success, you know, as far as what you can do. So I don't know. That's, if that kind of touches on what you were thinking, that's kind of what I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when you brought up a lot of points, there was that in fantasy there is really no limit at what kind of weird, wonky, or beastly things that you can throw into the mix. Because if you want a superhero, you can have a superhero. If you want to have a bunch of bog standard little troopers run around, you can do that, led by a superhero. But you got lots and lots of variety. But when, like you said, when you're coming to play any type of modern or historical game, there's really the only time in, let's say, ancients and even up through medieval times, I guess again, pike and shot, you can have those hero types involved. You know, like some type of sergeant or somebody that's just really well rounded, could be leading the troops and is also good with a sword or something, like in spear.
Mm-hmm.
Can make a bit of a difference in localized battle, but in the grand scheme of things, it's like they'll eventually get worn down and destroyed. You know, you have that. But when it comes to like the modern era of, let's say, since the really heavy advent of the firearm, you're not going to have as many of those. You'll have charismatic leaders, which can, you know, you can have. That's the biggest thing I find is like when we played her AWI games, leader type can make a major difference in the game of keeping your troops going and everything, and that's a force multiplier too. So it doesn't necessarily have to be super troops; just got to be a charismatic leader, like a Napoleon.
Right. So basically, the asymmetry has to be a lot more subtle and historical, just because of the nature of historical.
Yeah, people start getting a little out of whack. You know, the grognards start getting a little weird when you start throwing in kind of supernatural style players. So.
Sure. What were you going to add, Bill?
It depends on the rule system. It can be vastly different with the different armies and so forth. for instance, a game that Palmer and I play is called Saga.
Yeah.
I was thinking of that too. You stealing it from me.
They you can literally play the Saga rules with fantasy, and a Hearthguard in fantasy, no matter what the army is the same exact stats as the Hearthguard in any historical army in the Saga system. And then your regular troops and your levy are all the same. It's just that when you get to your battle boards, it just changes every single faction completely on how they activate and so forth. So that's one big thing. The thing that I think is a big difference between historicals and fantasy is that fantasy, you have a bunch of like clones of Lord of the Rings type of stuff, but when you break out of that mold, it kind of you get very little pickings, you know.
Well, to some extent, unless you get off the beaten path, and I mean, there's all kinds of niche fantasy games out there that are pretty crazy if you really dig in deep.
Yeah,
you know,
it is a huge component, even within the sci-fi. But then there's sci-fi too. But even within sci-fi, there's a lot of the Lord of the Rings stuff. You could argue that there's a lot of Lord of the Rings stuff in like Warhammer 40K with like elves and orcs and like all that stuff. But like true. It's funny. I was actually going to also bring up Saga, but not for the exact same reason. But like Dan said, like it's not about a right answer in this, in that I could go down the discussion and say that if you're truly talking symmetrical, which this person did not use the word symmetrical, I did. But if we're truly talking symmetrical, I would argue that wargaming in general is often not. Like, because the moment that, you have people that have access to chariots versus don't have access to chariots and like all that kind of stuff, you're changing to less symmetrical, like it's more asymmetrical. Like, and so even within historical gaming, like armies can be asymmetrical because of what they had access to. And I think Dan used the word technology, like just some people have elephants and some have chariots and some have this, some have that. Like the Roman side, they're sort of discipline and weapons, versus the barbarians and stuff.
Right.
But I guess what I found when thinking about this, and I didn't really think about this until just listening to you guys, I find that one of the biggest weaknesses of wargaming, like as a player, is when rule systems break down because of the variety. And so like as games continue and they continue to add more and more books and more rules and more armies and like the later books that come out are more powerful than the first books and like that are within the codices, that a lot of times people get frustrated at how like a rule system breaks down. And one of the things with Star Wars Armada I always told everybody was, please, like, let the game die because I have everything I need with it, and I actually don't want any more books. I don't want any more ships to come out because, like, I want it to be like it's already perfect. Like, I don't want, like, I know where this is going. Like, the more ships you continue to add, like, the game's just going to break. Like, and so for that reason, I found, as much as I liked Age of Magic, I've said on the show before that I prefer the Dark Ages and Saga to Age of Magic, and I actually prefer the way it was originally released for the most part. I don't mind the second edition, but I prefer that the differences between like Hearthguard and Warriors and Levy and like like leaders and just that like what they've done with it to be enough variety, but then also. When I found that a lot of other units were added, it got to a point where at times some of it was questionable as far as like the balance and whether it was getting too far out of whack. Because I know that balance is one of those tricky things that, like particularly with like Warhammer Fantasy Battle, I'm willing to just accept the imbalance where it is and just enjoy it for what it is. but there's certain games where you just keep pushing on that variety, and then the balance just kind of ruins it, like the lack of balance. And so where historical, in my opinion, may be, as all you guys said, like limited and just by its very nature, at a loss when it comes to having the creativity of fantasy. Maybe its strength is that you have a better shot at not having the weird and wonderful just make it so it's unplayable. I mean, I don't think you could just say that across the board, because I'm sure there's plenty of historical games that some people would consider to be unplayable, and plenty of fictional games that people think are perfect. It's just, but just for the reasons I was talking about, that's the way I almost think about it. Is that like if a man is a man is a man, like on the field, and if you're keeping some of it, some of like you're not feeling that. Some people, I was listening to a video of one of the GW, I think it was Andy Chambers, was talking about the rules of like the early GW games, and he was just saying how orcs, when the way they were designed in the lore, were not at all the way they were being played. Like the way the rules were coming in, and that they were really tough, but they didn't really deal the pain, initially. And that's when they had to sort of take away their shooting and make their melee better. But when you look at some inherent differences among races within fictional games, you can start right off the bat with some major weaknesses on a particular race. Like, and so I think Russ is talking about BattleTech. Maybe I'm not sure. I'm not sure if this is an update or just talking about BattleTech. But you could talk about some major weaknesses right off the bat that could be almost like I could conceive that there's a game where you have a few races and one of them has a critical stat in order to make the flavor of the game better is worse, but not having thought it through, maybe not enough play testing, or maybe for whatever reason they're never going to get over that. Like it's going to be like a statistic that's always going to be a problem for that race compared to the other ones. And so maybe having a man as a man as a man as a foundational point could be a real advantage when you're creating a system. Rusty, you sound like you want to jump in here.
Well, let's go from reality and go to the fictional world of gaming, where in reality, if you're playing a symmetrical battle, in reality, you're already lost. You want to be so asymmetrical as possible to overwhelm your opponent and destroy them. Now, we bring into gaming, we want both sides to have an equal chance to win the game. So you want a symmetrical style of in reality when you're playing your game, where you have to appease both sides. That's where that cookie cutter style system comes to be, where with some minor tweaks, and like you said, because both of us play bolt action, is that you got a few special rules for each army to make them just slightly have a little bit of flavor.
Yeah, a little different play style.
Yeah, so that's your flavor, and I don't have a problem with that. So now, like I said before, in fantasy, there is, you don't have to have any type of, or even sci-fi. You can have such a asymmetrical battle. You bring up BattleTech, for example. You could both start off with 5,000 point battle, and one person will bring clans and might have 4 or 5 mechs, and the other side may have 12. So it's highly unbalanced to begin with. You're both balanced when it comes to points, but the other side may have so many actions that they overwhelm you by getting around you, and you're surrounded, getting hit from all sides. So,
but do you think you need to have symmetry to have balance? Those are two different things, really.
Well,
because see, arguably, and I don't know how, but I mean, if you could design a rule set that you could have tons of asymmetry and still have balance. Now that would be the ultimate, correct? I mean, it's
Yeah.
when they start to stretch the rule system to the point and maybe not enough play testing, and then you get enough variables that like, well, we didn't really test
never
it if
seen
the
that
terrain
coming.
was this heavy and this unit was matched up to this unit. Yeah, we didn't really see that as being a problem, but it is. And so it's probably tougher. The more asymmetry you have, the tougher it is to balance a game system.
Yeah, that's one interesting thing is like GW has a very big problem with playtesting. They try to keep their rules so secret from everybody that they have, I think, a very small playtesting group that when they actually release the stuff to the wider general public, and you get guys that go that will look at stuff and go, I'm going to bust the heck out of this.
I'm going to break this. Yeah.
Yes. And they do. They break it, and all of a sudden that's where you start getting FAQs popping up right and left. So, oh, we never thought about this, and this is we never thought about that.
Yeah.
So it's hard unless you actually have a lot of playtesting to begin with and break it before you even actually make an official rule set out of it.
Because you could even argue that bolt action, I mean, they keep still cranking out campaign books with units with special rules, and I mean, every year they're still coming out with new stuff, and and there are cases where, in my opinion, you know, it's still the sort of that codex creep that you always talk about with GW, where, you know, now the Italians come out, or then the Hungarian, you know, it's like they got to give them something to make them unique, and then I don't even think they're doing it necessarily to sell, you know, models or books, but I think it's just your tendency to want to give them something cool, you know, and of course they have their own special sets of rules and units that maybe is the flavor for that army, but then the problem becomes that then you got so many different new interactions that then it gets difficult then to make sure that that's balanced in every situation, because putting 50 points on this and 20 points on that, I don't know that doesn't always do it. It depends on what the scenario objective is. It depends on the amount of terrain on the table. Depends on the number of game turns. So, you know, but I'm noticing that they're coming out with these special units that, and people are running whole armies of them now, where it was like, they were so rare I didn't ever even heard of them. But now, you know, but that's fine too. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a game, and, you know, and I accept that. I'm not trying to win a national championship or anything. So, but I think it does get complicated.
And that's where they should have, some of these special units, okay, or like somebody making a total commando army or something of that nature, where, all right, you can only have so many of these units. You know, you put a limiter on them, but they're not.
Yeah, there's something needs to, kind of neutralize the power effect of taking it to where somebody's bending the rules to the point of almost break. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's take a look at the comments here and see what people might have as thoughts. I think this is just some of the older stuff we were talking about. Chris says, I have so much modern and World War II to paint that I printed. And then Clark says, rules bloat with additions and expansions just tells me it's time for a brand new edition. Fully rebalance the game. And
yeah, sometimes that's what's needed.
The Tatate can absolutely go toe-to-toe against an Atlas. This sounds like Battletech talk. Yeah. The Tatate are the only alien species in Battletech and are just a bunch of bird people who fight with spears. I didn't realize that actually there were aliens. Looks like we got BM Builder in the house. Hello, BMB. Thanks for joining the show. Hope I don't know how late it is in Australia right now. How early it is, I should say. And then we've got Tim says asymmetry requires a difference in victory conditions.
I've read that, and that's an interesting point. He's not wrong, but that complicates things.
Yeah, because if you put it as part of the scenario where you're forcing somebody to actually have to move out of the backfield or something and move forward and get on the objectives to win the game instead of just sitting there shooting away.
Well, and sometimes you can have it where, it's a weaker army, and yes, going toe-to-toe, they're going to get crushed. And even even if you're trying to play defensive, you'll get crushed, but your victory condition might be such that that's not what makes you lose the game. What makes you lose the game isn't necessarily that you lost a ton of units or even most of your units. You might still win the game, and if you can come up with objectives that allow you to do that, that's the way to help also balance asymmetry and encourage asymmetry. Yeah, but that's hard to do in tournament settings, which so many games seem like they're really geared towards, because it seems like that's what builds a fan base and a buzz, and it gets it exposure as well.
Yeah, because the highly competitive people will want to play a tournament-style game system because it feeds their inner beast.
Yeah.
For competition, and people like that will actually kind of drive what's being played at your game store.
Yeah, see, I would say that's true to an extent, in general, at least.
Because right now, it's like Bolt Action is pretty popular in our local store, and almost all these guys play in tournaments. Right now, they're not doing anything that they.
Yep.
But it's like I can guarantee you, when the time comes this spring. And into the summer, you've seen them play all the time as they're getting ready for the Bug Eater and all that.
Yeah, the Bug Eater, and there's one in Lincoln and Sioux City, and
because they train.
Mm-hmm.
So a local game store is more than happy to see tournament style games being played, because it sells stuff. It keeps a little buzz and action, a thrill going on in their store, which they want to have.
And it seems like the people that, in general, again, this is all generalizations in my opinion, that a lot of the online, social media buzz is created by the people, or the most noise is made from the people that are they're really into it, and they're the ones that are the real competitive. They're going to build the new army when the new book comes out, and that's totally good. I mean, I'm not knocking that, but I think it does help. That's the other thing that also drives that, like you say, because ultimately, it's sales. Plus, we all know that, and we've all, I'm sure, got caught up in social media hype, even if you're even slightly following the, Warhammer Old World thing or whatever game system that's coming out that's caught your eye, even if you're not overly interested, just the excitement and the buzz and the, just the amount of noise that's made it, it makes you give it a look. And
the fear of missing out.
Well, I don't know if it's quite that as much as it's just, it's fun to be part of something. I mean, I think it's part of human nature. It's like even now. Team. This is, not even that. I think even look at us. There's the four of us here together. We could be doing anything tonight. We're not even in the same state, but this is fun for us to talk. Find like-minded people that are in. I know a lot of times when I'll watch a YouTube video on different, and they can be working on an army or something that I would never even dream of doing, but it gets me, it just enthuses me to work on my, it's because we're social beings, whether, some more than others, and gaming is social. Yes, you can play solo, but what most of us really enjoy, I think, whether you enjoy the painting more, that's possible too, but I would think most would say our best gaming experiences have been with another individual, whether it was just a friendly game in our home or a competitive game at a tournament or whatever. So I think that social thing you're drawn to, that, and then that buzz and the hype that it creates, even if there's no shortage of games on the shelves and it's not on sale, it makes you give a look, and you share what you're painting with the group, and they're like, yeah, that's really cool. I love what you did, and your table's amazing. And it energizes you and it energizes them. And so I think the companies then by default kind of follow that crowd, because that's what works, I don't know. I don't know if that made sense, but
yeah, absolutely.
I've thought about that, because we're like we create our own excitement, and then it builds. It's like a snowball.
Oh yeah.
There is something that would toss this on its head. A game that I play called Lion Rampant.
Yep, I'm familiar.
And there's a chapter in that game rule system that goes over different options that you have. Now, being Lance Connect, my favorite options are Italian city-state Renaissance fighting.
Mhm.
So they have a rules option for actually doing the Italian city-state fighting. So the way you do it is you bring in different regiments to the gaming table, and you array them out on the table, and then everyone else puts all their regiments on the table, and then you have a game before the game of bidding for the units. So everyone has a certain amount of denarii to spend towards bidding for different regiments that are out there, and you can bid for regiments that are not even ones that you brought. You can bid for other people's regiments. So you can actually have all sorts of different combinations, because someone could bring nothing but knights, someone could bring a whole bunch of crossbowmen, you could have arquebuses, and it's an early Renaissance, so you have all menagerie of all sorts of different weapons, like bill hooks, you got pikemen, you've got great swordsmen, you've got all sorts of different things. So you could have even peasants out there, and it's just ridiculously different in what you can do. So I was just thinking that
Sounds like a fantasy football draft.
yes,
Yeah.
it's a fantasy football draft right before the game begins, and that's what your army is.
Now, I've never played Lion Rampant. I've played Dragon Rampant. If it's anything similar, the only thing I would just say, if your argument, Bill, is that what you described, which I've not played before, that style, adds lots of variety within a historical context. The only thing I would say about Dragon Rampant is that there is a lot of work that's done to make sure that there is a lot of symmetry available, and that, like, you could call a dragon, but really it's just this kind of unit that everybody else has access to, and you've just maybe added a couple of things to. But really, for the most part, there's like heavy like infantry versus like regular light infantry and like elite infantry, and each side has access to the same thing. You can kind of add some spells, like so there's a little bit of flavor there, and I actually really like the game. Like, I'm not speaking about it in a bad way. I actually think it's a really fun game. I think they've been very successful with that system. But would you agree that the way that it's designed, it allows you to bring whatever miniature you kind of want, but it kind of creates a fair bit of symmetry, I would say.
For the most part, but of course it depends on the scenario too. Broken Dice was saying that scenario-driven games can actually cause asymmetry too.
Mm-hmm.
So, as you know, with Dragon Rampant and also with Lion Rampant, there are certain scenarios that if you don't have those fast-moving light units to grab those different objectives, you're going to be behind the eight ball with some of those.
True. No, that's a good point.
But every faction has access to those units, though, or not? That's the question. Because did you list build something that couldn't do that, or are you not allowed that?
You will be allowed in most cases, unless like you pigeonhole yourself into like a type of faction that's in the fictional game that's fairly specific rules, like undead or something that says you can't have something. In most cases, you can make whatever you want.
Okay.
Yeah, so in most cases, correct me if I'm wrong, Bill, because I think you played it more than me and been playing it longer than I have. But you can actually, like, in most of those units, if you want an elite, you can choose to use elites.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Or mounted
It's a points drain though. That's like any points based game. So
yeah, it's
exponentially
a cost reward situation. Yeah.
So it's smaller your army's going to be, the more elite it is. But that's in any game, actually.
Yep.
Yeah.
BNB says it's 2 p.m. here and 33 outside.
It's pretty warm.
little
Is that
jealous of that.
must be about summertime there then?
That's over in Brisbane, I would think, because it's B&B, the Brisbane Model Builder.
Is that what it is? Okay, I didn't know.
That's yeah.
Brisbane.
Actually, he does a lot of nice modeling. He's not so much a wargamer, but although I saw him get Infinity miniatures, like he'll pick up miniatures that are for miniature wargaming at times, but he's more of like a pure modeler. And he, I actually first discovered his channel because I really like the Machusen Krieger models. They're like a cross between like World War II and science fiction, and they're really nice. And I was looking into the models and I came across his channel specifically for that. But he also
is that the name of his channel? Is it that his name? Channel name?
Yes, Brisbane Model Builder. Yeah,
I'm not
and
sure
actually,
correct.
he'll also like Rusty. He'll put up like Marvel and like other kinds of models, like really nice models. I used to joke around with him how he has like I think he has a storage shed of just models like that he hasn't built. You know, like, I think,
That's awesome.
He has like so much stuff, it seems, from looking at his show.
I'll have to check his channel out. I don't think I've run across it, huh?
No, it's good
I
stuff.
say every once in a while I can just do a purge just to get rid of stuff.
Lots of World War II stuff, Dan, as well.
Oh, fine. Oh,
and,
cool.
like,
Yeah, well, thanks
and,
for
like,
the
all kinds
shout.
of stuff.
Yeah, cool. I'll check it out.
See ya, Clark. If you're still on, I know you said you're heading off. And have a good one. Thanks for joining in and
Thanks,
some
Clark.
really good comments
Yeah,
for the
see you,
discussion.
Clark.
Tim says, getting them to change sides with cash, very much in tune with the time period.
Oh, sure.
That's referring to Bill's scenario,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. Throwing a big giant bag of gold has a tendency to change a unit's mind.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Actually,
It's part of the charm of the period. It's the Italian Renaissance. They were very much into the hired goons, so to speak. They're very much in the hired armies. So, yeah.
Have gold will travel.
Oh yeah, you could go with the elite mercenaries like the Swiss, or you could go cheap like the Landsconnects. So, yeah,
That's a good point, Bill.
Yeah,
I think it's an interesting discussion. I'm kind of glad. Well, I'm glad that my friend made that comment. I mean, like, and it's funny because I kind of thought, as historical kind of guys, a lot of you guys are, that your reaction tonight was going to be like, no, like, that's wrong, like blah blah blah. But you were actually kind of like, yeah, I kind of agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's not wrong. It's
Yeah.
And it's just kind of the nature of it, and it depends what you like. I mean, there's no wrong answer how to have fun with your hobby.
It's funny though, like when you think about variety, like I don't play Napoleonics, but when I see these people, like when you think about the Napoleonic Wars and you think of just like all the different kinds of units you can take, then like all of a sudden, like when you look at two armies, like they might, even though they're all men, like you may still feel like you're playing with two very different things. Like, when you actually come to the table, like, as far as your armies go, it's interesting.
And of course, like I would say, like a Napoleonic enthusiast, of course they're crazy for one thing to have to paint all that stuff. But, I think probably in general with the people that are drawn to that, at least on the miniature side, it's the epicness of the look of the table. The huge armies is what is cool. And kind of the historical side. And so, whether it was perfectly symmetrical or not, it isn't even important because I don't know that that's what they're in it for them in general.
Right.
And you consider the size of like the Napoleonic battle would just be, American War of Independence would be just a itty bitty portion skirmish of a battle.
Yeah, just a skirmish on the side, even compared to Brandywine, which was one of the largest battles.
Yeah, it's like what those two squadrons of or two regiments doing over there and fighting over there? Send a division or two over there to squash that. Just be done with that.
Yeah, be done with it.
Open up with the cannonade and blast them off the field.
Yeah.
All right, move on.
But boy,
Yeah,
watching some of that, like what was that Basement 1908 or 8,
Oh,
whatever.
yeah.
I mean, he did that epic battle here, what, a week or 10, 12 days ago. And
Yeah,
I mean,
that
jeepers.
was
I mean,
pretty
I
awesome.
sat there and watched that because it's gorgeous, but I would never do it. And yeah, talk about like any kind of symmetry. I mean, and Black Powder is about as simple of a game to handle that as you can have, but it was a riot, so
Yeah,
it befits that genre well.
I don't know if
B&B,
Mel is still on here.
B&B sounds a lot like Rusty with his models because he says it's more like a warehouse. Hobby stores have less than me these days. when it comes to Rusty and his wargaming stuff, he's kind of like B&B in his model collection.
Yeah. Rusty's got quite the collection, at least even the portion that I've seen. I haven't even seen it all.
Yeah, every once in a while, it's like I'll look at something. It's like I don't think I'm going to ever use those guys, and it's like either something semi-painted or had been painted, and I was like, I'm not going to use those things. And I'll just throw them up on eBay, and sometimes they're gone and nothing flat.
Yeah, there's very few things you put up on eBay though.
Yeah,
you do like to keep most of it. No.
Yeah, I tend to have a tendency to keep everything I have, but you're talking about 10% of a massive collection.
Yeah, it's massive. Every scale, every age, every genre.
The only thing I do not have in my collection right now is Napoleonics, because I sold them all. This table behind me, I would have that. I could put everything I had for Napoleonics and 15 mil would fill that entire table.
Wow. Yeah. Okay.
So, because I had the British, French, Austrians, Prussians, and Russians.
You ever miss that?
Yeah, I miss it. But we used to play it all the time. And then our local gaming group kind of just up and died, literally died.
You have old age, you mean?
Yeah. And
is that are you serious, Rusty? Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm like.
I thought you'd said that before.
It's kind of hard
to. Man, that's an appropriate time to laugh. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's like it's just the nature of things when most of the guys that were driving the Napoleonic games were in their 60s, and that was their 70s back in early mid 90s.
Right,
they're all gone. And it also helped that we had one of our friends, John, actually had a miniature company where he made spin cast stuff, the 15 mil miniature. So it was not uncommon to go play on a Sunday with him and then play a game. And then it's like, oh yeah, I'll buy another bag or two of 15 mil Napoleonics, base them all. And then I'd sit and watch TV all week and paint a couple regiments or divisions, and add to the collection. So I was probably adding one bag of miniatures a week at one time.
Good grief.
And it wasn't costing anything. It's like $10 would buy you a bag of miniatures.
The good old days.
Yeah.
Now we got 3D printing, though.
Who's got the printer going right now? You do? What are you printing?
I am printing a monster.
A monster. The monster.
Because I want to start playing The Doomed.
I don't know that one.
And it's how should I say, almost like a gothic horror science fiction skirmish game.
Okay.
Where you're hunting giant Cthulhu-style monsters.
No way.
With bolters and whatever, laser guns and so forth. So
sounds cool.
So is it a co-op game or somebody runs the monsters?
The monsters are AI programmed.
Okay, that's what I
And
wondered.
if you're saying it's a co-op game, it's a pseudo competitive co-op.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Because you get certain points for what you do to overcome the monster.
So you're looking
So
out for yourself, number one.
you're competing with the other person to tick off those points
Right.
before they do.
I gotcha.
Cool.
Have you
It's
played
the
it then? Or are you just getting
Yeah.
ready to play it?
Just getting ready to play. Yeah.
Yep. Cool.
So,
Is that a War Games Vault game?
it's an Osprey game.
Osprey. That's funny. I've never heard of it.
I think an Osprey has all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, they've been really
Yep,
prolific.
the Doomed.
The Doomed. Sounds vaguely familiar, but yeah, I can't say that I do know it.
I thought you said the dunes at first.
I did it first too.
Sandworm
dunes.
coming out of everywhere.
Sand dunes. Got sand everywhere.
He who controls the spice controls the galaxy.
I'm looking forward to the next movie coming out for that.
Oh yeah, I plan on watching. After I get off tonight, I'm going to watch the Sci-Fi Channel miniseries. There's like 6 episodes. I'm
Oh,
going to start watching tonight.
okay.
I'm kind of a big Dune guy.
Let's see. I'll present. Share screen.
You going to share something?
Yeah. Let's see here. See if I can figure out how to do it.
Oh.
Somebody's dog is unhappy.
That's my dog. Okay. So I am sharing the title of the book. You guys see that?
Not yet.
I've got you zoomed
Not
in
yet,
here, but I
just
don't see
you.
anything. It's a little tricky. There's a couple of options. I had trouble with this last week when I was trying to share stuff, but there's one thing like share your screen. There's another share the picture or something. There's like 3 options. Try the one that you're not doing. That's my best advice.
Try the one you're not.
Present. Share screen. Okay. Share. Now it says it should be sharing.
Oh,
right
you
now.
know what? Actually, it's not your screen. It's below. Let me do that. Hang on. Add to stage. Here you go.
Oh,
There we
nice. Doomed of an
Now-
apocalyptic horror hunting.
That's it. There you go. I guess I was supposed to do something.
Yeah. Yeah, you had
That's-
to add the.
Sweet looking cover.
Yeah.
So you can use all your different like models that you already own, and then to make up your squad, which could be Space Marines or whatnot, and then you just go up against monsters.
And then you can pull
Cool.
all your cool models out that you've 3D printed.
Yeah.
And you get your own stats up? Or do they have stats already for like set things?
They have set. Well, no, it's actually figure agnostic, and they encourage you to build your own monsters. And then they have the
With the
different
rules?
categories of monsters.
You could build your own
Yeah.
monsters with the rules?
Yeah,
That's cool. I like
you just
that.
put them into whatever category they have. So you build the monster physically, and then you just go, okay, well, this looks like what they're describing here, and their description is general.
So you can make, you can make it squeeze. So is it story driven? Like you're following a storyline, or how's it work?
Yeah, you have a progression of a campaign,
Yeah, cool.
and it's semi co-op or solo if you want it.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So
That sounds
You
really
can
cool.
get the PDF for $24.50
Huh.
off
$24.50,
drive
huh?
through RPG.
That must mean it's hot right now. Because that sounds like pricey for an electronic version.
It's an Osprey game, so yeah.
Well, and it's also probably fairly recent. Is that
Oh
right?
yeah. Oh
So
yeah.
that's probably it.
Yeah, probably. Cool.
That sounds cool though. I've got the Lismore started here. Rest day. I've just gotten to it. I can't believe I've waited this long, hour and a half into the show.
Jeez. Yeah.
No, I just got a message from Jesse.
Okay.
He just finally got his Age of Sigmar miniatures put together.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
they're coming out with the old world.
He's doing chaos.
Cool.
That's cool. Yeah, he showed me those. I saw those chaos miniatures. It's nice. BNB says I picked up the Lasse Henning Resin A-Wing, but a wallet.
The Lesser Henning Resin A-Wing awesome kit. But a wallet killer, possible divorce enabler.
I know that sometimes those kits that you put up there, you get when they first come out or something, and then later on, like they really go up in value once they go out of print, because some of the stuff, I think there was a King Kong kit that he did recently, or like in the last year, he put on his channel. I really liked it. I went on to eBay, and it's not the first time I went on to eBay looking for stuff that he's put on there, and I couldn't believe the price of some of these things. They really do go up in value, these model kits.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice stuff.
There are times I wonder, it's like somebody will buy up a lot of these kits beforehand, and then they turn around and make their extra money with inflated prices.
Mm-hmm. We should BNB, you should give your opinion either on a video or on this show someday or whatever. We should do like a discussion on 3D printing and give your opinion, because I know you've talked about it when in the past, and you know, like resin printing is continually coming along, and now even you, I know, are actually doing some models that are 3D printed by others resin and featuring them on your channel. But it'd be interesting to see your thought on the different mediums and the different stuff, because you come from a different perspective than we do. I mean, we appreciate really good miniatures and models, like as wargamers, like and you know, like Dan over there, he's like working on a terrain piece for Wargame. But in all fairness, like the amount, like as an example, like the amount I would say, and I'm not trying to just like blow flowery perfume at Dan here, but a lot of like the effort that he puts in is of the same level as a modeler does for diorama. And you know, not all wargamers do that, and people do it to different degrees, but like he's putting rubble in and signs and making wire bicycles. Like I remember you did that with like some of your stuff. Like he does stuff that is like diorama worthy. And so, but it'd be so like there are times when wargamers have downed the 3D printing, you know, when you were seeing like your lines, like, you know, on the certain kinds of printing where you'll have like your lines that you can see when you're trying to paint it. But it's come a long way. You know, it's only getting better and better. Be interesting to hear your thought someday on that, BNB.
Yeah, and I assume that's only going to get better. And that's the only reason I've stayed away from most PLA terrain. Just I've seen people get just amazing results. And the one little piece I did have, I used some sandpaper to try to disguise the layer lines a little bit.
Sure.
And they're great, and it's very affordable, and you can print them yourself. Yeah, but for me personally, that just the amount of time I want to spend on painting it and drawing it up, I feel like I can get better results with resin or plastic kits.
Well, and resin, but the resin printing now, I would argue it's getting to a level that it's becoming less distinguishable.
Agreed. And that's the biggest problem, though. Like, I can purchase those, of course, because I don't have a printer.
Yeah.
But then they get kind of spendy. So then you're like, well, if I'm going to want to print a table, then maybe I would get my own printer. Of course, by the time you spend the money on the printer and then your resin and then my time, maybe if I could find what I wanted out there on the market, just buy what you want. But yeah, it's amazing what they can do. I've got some resin vehicles for bolt action that, they're smooth and detailed and gorgeous. Gorgeous.
Well, and just to be also just to mention it, Chris, who's Walkabout Games, that's on the show right now. He's done printing commercially and has been doing printing for a really long time. And so he's come in and said, with 8K and 12K printing now, it's scary how good it is now. Yeah.
Yeah, he's been in since the very beginning of printing, I think, home printing.
Absolutely. No, he's actually one of the people that helped me with questions when I started it.
Yeah.
Looks like we got a nerd's nerd in the house. Thanks for joining in.
Hey.
Howdy ho.
So,
my son was yelling at me. I don't know if you heard that.
I didn't.
I didn't.
So, I don't know. I think we've kind of exhausted our first topic, our main topic of the night, as far as symmetry or of historical versus fantasy wargaming.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you guys want to take a quick. We think we have time. Want to take a crack at the next one?
Oh yeah, we got time. We already talked some of it.
Yeah, well, and so it was really just there could be other tangents that go on this. But Rusty, do you want to open up this one since it was your idea? For this one?
It's kind of delves into what we were talking about already. Is that more of what I call crunchy rule sets versus your standardized cookie cutter style rule set. There's not a lot of rules to get. It's easy to play. The beer and pretzel, that's the best way to describe these things. The beer and pretzel rules versus a more elaborate, in-depth, what we like to call a crunchy rule set, where it takes a little bit more brain power to think through. Doesn't necessarily play a slow game. It's just that there's more special rules for, let's say, a historical game system versus a easy beer and pretzel style rule set. It'd be like Lion Rampant versus something else.
Something else.
Yeah.
How's your scotch doing there tonight, Rusty?
Huh?
How's your scotch doing?
I'm drinking rum.
Oh yeah, that's true. I forgot. Yeah.
About halfway through what I poured.
So is the question which one you like better and why?
Well, it depends on sometimes. It just depends on time constraints, but I don't mind having a rule set that has a lot of depth to it because I like getting into the nuances of different style play units and etc. And that's where, let's say, like bolt action versus battleground, where in battleground there's a lot more in depth to it to provide a little more flavor. Each squad might have flavor to it that provides special rules versus like bolt action where everything's kind of the same. You're just throwing, it's like, okay, you create your dice pool and then just like add stuff to it and then toss it and just see what happens type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
You think, not to throw it, since you actually brought this up in light of our last topic, do you think that a crunchier rule set that we assume is more realistic can actually sometimes be less realistic because in a more symmetrical thing where a man is a man, you shouldn't have all those special rules?
Well, it's not necessarily each man has a special rule. It's just adding squad flavor rules.
Or even layers of depth. Like some games will have. I've seen some Vietnam small action type games that a buddy of mine talks about. And he says like when you shoot, well, everyone has each of your squad members has a personality, and then like when you shoot, if you're hit in the arm, and then how serious it was, and what game turn it was, and if that's what you mean, like by depth and complexity.
Yeah, something like that.
Or infinity, right? They always say infinity is like a mental.
Exactly, that's
challenge.
another one where affinity has a lot of depth to it.
Yeah,
where you're each piece in Infinity, each model has a special rule for itself. They can do things.
Well, and it's more skirmish for sure, but it actually even at a time when you go I go was just starting to become popular, it seemed Infinity was having retaliation. Like, and Bill actually can speak to this too because I know he played a lot of it. But one of the cool things about Infinity was the fact that like you always had a chance to shoot back. It's just how good of a chance you had, if you're not the primary player that turn. But like you had to worry as the primary player about being shot at the exact same time you were going. And to me that was
that's cool.
I wish I could play more Infinity. That's one of those games that my gaming group, like my sort of series of friends, never got into it the way I did. I love the models and the game.
Yeah, it's a fun game. The problem I have with Infinity, why I stopped playing, was I like other games, and if you want to stay competitive with Infinity, you've got to focus on that game because you get behind the power curve very fast.
It's crunchy.
Okay.
Yes,
as Rusty was saying. But I don't really play that. Like that's the thing is I don't really play competitively enough. Like I played Infinity with my daughter, like with the basic starting game that they give you where you get the models with the box and you just play. And to me, that alone was fun. Like, just playing at my house, like just playing some games, like my ideal world would be to just play it casually with some friends and not like to the level you're talking about, Bill. But I just found it so much fun.
But is it one of those games where, like, what I always think of like Crunchy, where like if you don't play it like once a month, I mean it's a lot to keep in your head, and so like you need to kind of like you wouldn't want to be playing that, and then a couple weeks you're playing something else, and then you're going to come back to that, and it's kind of like we're starting over again. I know there's some board games that I've played in my life that are like that, like Advanced Squad Leader. If you stick with it, it gets really good and really fun. But as soon as you step away for a while, you remember enough of it, but it's kind of like, man, you're relearning the game again.
Exactly.
And that's me, the difference between like Crunchy and what they call beer and pretzels. And in my lifestyle that I have, I love the idea of, and I get really anal, and I'd love like a specific, I don't even know what one I'd pick, but if it was a certain genre or a certain game or a certain theme, I'd love to have a game that was just deep like that, where I could really soak it up and you could spend a lifetime exploring it. But
you'd probably like it. Actually.
But in reality, my problem is that, I know gradually over the next couple of years as my life is getting to a different stage that I'll be playing more games, no question. But even then, it's not going to be like weekly or with the same opponents weekly. So that the lighter game like Bolt Action, I cannot play that game for 6 or 8 months or almost a year even. And with a quick review and looking up a few things while we play, we're pretty well playing spot on the rules, and that's probably more where I'm at, and that's what I need to enjoy because that's the reality. But I do love Crunchy though, if I can, I could swing it.
And this is not me responding to the topic, but I just wanted to mention something like that Bill said. I actually think that was a good point about how, like, how many games can you play and the crunchiness and Infinity. Like, if you want to be really good at it to your own satisfaction, it may mean that you need to not play as much of the games. And, I am one of those people that Bill just described. And I would imagine that Bill probably has more capacity in his head because he's been a wargamer longer than I have from talking to him. I actually think you probably have more capacity for me than multiple games. And so I completely identify with that comment. I think that's interesting that the greatest strength of a game could also be its greatest weakness if if it means that like you're trying to attract people that play a lot of different things. And what I wanted to say just lastly was that when I started playing Bolt Action First Edition and I was playing Musket Tomahawks First Edition, I could play those two games side by side, no problem. And it's not because they were written by the same people. They were two totally different companies, two totally different countries, that wrote those. But they were not of a complexity enough that I couldn't maintain both of them. But something like Infinity, I totally see Bill's point. And there are other games that I've played that are that's the same. That I have to keep up with it. Not even just for the tournament scene, just for me to know it. Like not even to be competitive, just to basically play it. Like I have to actually keep up with it to a certain level.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So that, I don't know.
We got
a good point.
Comments pop in here.
Looks like we got B&B says this is just regarding 3D printing discussion. I think 3D printing the master and then casting in resin is another way to go after cleaning up the 3D mastered print. That's a good point. That's a little bit more thought put into it than I'd ever would have. And so
interesting.
I'm glad. That's why I asked him his opinion on that. So Striker, I think a crunchy rule set allows for an in-depth background like BattleTech. Lets you use the same forces over to the next battle. It's just easier as the rules are already made for you. That's true. Like mashing those two things together. I was just thinking what B&B was saying there, and then what Strike was saying. You know how we have an Atomic Dog who kind of comes in at times to the chat, and he's got a YouTube channel. He actually started out modeling. Like that was his thing. Like he was like showing cars and like doing all kinds of stuff. If I remember correct, he was a modeler first, but then he started wargaming. And not that I want to suck B&B in, but one thing that is fun is that if you take something that you really like the models, like, and I know B&B actually has some Infinity models, that might not be a good one to start with as a game, but because I mean, you might be, just super intelligent and love it, but it is a hard war game to start with. But some of these games, it's fun to take what you like and you do your models and stuff, and to actually have some fun and throw them on a table like that on a game. But the one thing I do know is B&B likes to do the large scale models, and the miniatures are actually not the rule; they're the exception on his channel. Chris says lots of crunch. Rusty, they used to call him Captain Crunch at a time when it came to. You like your crunchy games, Rusty, right?
Oh yeah.
He's like, I don't know what Palmer's talking about.
He who controls the crunch enjoys the game.
Says the captain.
I've drifted away from crunch as I grow older. When I was young, I almost got PTSD with crunch when I played Empire 3. I'm not sure. Rusty, did you play Empire?
Napoleonics?
Yeah.
We usually played Napoleonic battles, but when did that was late 90s, wasn't it? That one?
Yep, yeah.
We're just moving out of Napoleonics in the late 90s, so I don't think I picked it up. Because I got rid of a whole bunch of stuff back in around 2005 to 2010.
That's like the advanced squadron leader for Napoleonic gaming.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was PTSD in crunch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before I go on to Chris's next comments there, they put, what do you guys think about crunch versus beer and pretzel when it comes to like solo wargaming?
Oh, solo wargaming, you can go as crunchy as you want because it's just you doing it.
And you got the time, right? Like you're not there for a limited couple hours. The only reason I say is I'm really enjoying Warhammer 6th edition, like Fantasy Battles, but I have the 3rd edition. I always said one day I would try it, but I see like the smaller armies, like in, from like some of the earlier editions, like I could really see doing some creative stuff on a table that I had at my house where I had a game, that kind of just went for a couple of months. Like, you know what I mean? Like it just only did a couple of moves a day. You know what I mean? It just made sure I did them right according to like a more complex, crunchier version of Warhammer Fantasy Battle, like that is either Rogue Trader or 3rd edition Warhammer Fantasy, which to me are sort of comparable because Warhammer Fantasy came out first, and I think by the time that Rogue Trader come out, you were kind of at 3rd edition. It was sort of like the same idea. There's an RPG element to it too, but like I see. So it looks like we might be losing Dan there for a second. Just lost you there for a second, Dan. I just wasn't sure if you were there.
Okay.
But,
you were just I can hear you.
Oh, actually, it's funny. Atomic Dog just jumped in. Actually, I call him Atomic Dog, but it's Mini War Medicine's channel. Just because we were just talking about him regarding the modeling. He can confirm whether I was right, that he went from modeling to wargaming. Because I just used you as an example as someone that I thought started out as modeling and then started wargaming as a result. And so, yeah. But
I was actually a modeler long before. I was modeling when I was 7, 8, 9.
Yeah.
Building plastic kits and mostly World War II cars, things like that. So that's my background by far, many years. Sorry to interrupt.
No, it's a good point. I just thought of that tangent there about the solo wargaming and how that actually. Because honestly,
you'd have to.
Go ahead.
I was just going to ask, but it would depend on the rule set too, because sometimes, while it's crunchier, that would be great because you can do it yourself a little bit at a time, sit there and kind of page the rules and work your way through it. But depending on the game, perhaps it wouldn't solo well, though. I would wonder, because since you're adding that complexity, depending on how it's being added, is that also going to make it so you're just kind of going through motions as opposed to playing the game? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, it depends on the rule set, obviously, but I would think by definition it might be somewhat hard to solo it. I'm not opposed to soloing games, so I haven't done it miniature games, but I've soloed board games quite a bit, and I would definitely do it. It's just when I get free time, I'm by myself. I'm painting because I feel like I got so many things I want to paint up before I can't see anymore or whatever,
Oh,
so
for sure.
I'm painting.
Yeah, I agree when it comes to doing board games and stuff. It's easier just to throw one up on the table and play, and not worry about, because it's like I don't have anybody to play against anymore. That plays historical board games. If I wanted to go play like a sci-fi, it's like right behind me, everything right there. I could go to my local game shop on a Wednesday night or a Thursday night, depending on which one it is, and be able to throw it down and say, hey, let's play this game for a couple hours. And he's like, oh, yeah, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Chris says, with my research over the last 2 years, people are moving away from the crunchy rules.
Yeah.
For those of you that don't know, Chris is putting out a rule set. I also have noticed from my questions to gamers, they don't want huge rule books with huge amounts of tables. Yeah, I know.
Well,
we've talked about that. Well, and this is the Musty Wargamers, and like the Musty Wargamers, and actually, to be honest, okay, so like Bill had just said, maybe for the same reasons, and like when you're playing with groups of people, sometimes having streamlined rule set that's easy to play, and like there's multiple facets for getting together as a group and having a good time, and so but like we are still an older population in this room right now, and so some of us do like the crunchy rules.
Well, part of that is that you get the large portion of the population where it's getting into gaming that's starting to put their toe into historicals, the instant gratification genre or generation. they are just getting into it, they still feel like everything has to be spoon-fed to them. They don't want to have to research anything and figure it out for themselves. So they want it as simple as possible. So you just pick up like a Euro-style game, and it's like, oh, it's like, you got to do this, you got to do this, and this. Oh, okay, I can do that. They don't want, it's like they want the rules on 3 pages or something like that.
I don't know. There's a part of me that wants to play the crunchy rules, whether that be solo gaming or not. And then there's a part of me that enjoys a fast play game. Like,
Yep.
I really like Star Wars Armada, like as you guys might have imagined, because I've said it a million times. But like I really like that game, and I don't consider it to be a crunchy rule set, But I love it. And so I guess it just depends,
Yeah, same. Yeah. I just think for me, ultimately, like I'd have to think about it. If I could pick one genre, one scale of game, or one, whatever, and then have some professional, amazing designer design me this crunchy game for that, I would love that. But that would not be my mainstay. That would be my lifetime kind of passion project thing to work on that game. I mean, I would get a charge out of that, but I wouldn't want to do that, weekly or every month or something that, I wouldn't want to make it a job. And that's why I like the lighter games, and they can be extremely satisfying. And when you're trying to find an opponent that doesn't want to commit as much to a game as you personally do, because you find it fascinating, then it's nice to have a rule set that even somebody that's not really into World War II, I'll play bolt action. That's, that's pretty basic, or
absolutely
fantasy, or that is awesome.
That's
little
cool.
Cthulhu looking dude.
Oh, cool. That came right off the printer, huh?
Yep.
Very cool.
Very cool.
I thought that was your fire alarm that went off. I heard. I was going to actually, kind of jump in and say, for safety reasons, do we need to clarify that you're okay? But yeah, that's nice. That's really cool.
That is so cool.
Eyes on it.
Very cool.
We used to play D&D, and I had one of my friends, good friends during the day, Jerry. We'd be playing D&D, and every once in a while he'd just start yelling Cthulhu, Cthulhu, Cthulhu.
Yeah.
And
I'm going to go into the...
Back in the day, if you said Cthulhu's name, there was a 1% chance that he would show up. So you gotta be kidding me. Right in the middle of the dungeon, you're yelling Cthulhu. Yeah, I want to see if he can do it. Come on, throw the die.
Did you use the 100-sided die?
2 10-siders.
2 10-sided.
The 100-sided die that never stops rolling. Well, we got a few comments in here. I'm just going to catch up real quick. Chris says, "Oh God, Empire 3, oh the crunch," referring to Bill's plight. And then Warma says, "Hey all, yes, I'm late. Just got home from dinner and checking on the Christmas lights around our neighborhood." It's funny how you just showed up right when I was talking about you. Only good things, mind you.
You summoned
Hey Bill, awesome work on the Goblin Grotto. Yes, Bill just put that up. And I know you put that up on multiple spots, but I saw that on the Musty page.
Yeah, that's where I saw it. Yep.
Striker says, "Oh, dang, talk about the devil." Exactly. Thank you, says Bill. Look who I summoned by saying his name. Modern Minuteman. That's Striker there. Lots of laughs. I'm just going through here. Yeah, Atomic Dog was years ago. I have a really kind of bad brain. When something gets into my brain, it's hard for me to actually change. I see you, and even with that, I think your name's like Atomic Dog in my head. I'm still regretting deleting that channel of 3,600 subs. Well, Curtis says, "I love solo wargaming," which we've done whole shows here talking to you about solo wargaming because I know that you have a passion for that. Actually, I believe you actually have a Facebook group that's dedicated to solo wargaming.
Seabiscuits, man.
Yeah, I think he does. Yeah, I think I have been there.
Yes, I enjoy solo wargaming. I can start a game whenever I want. True. Zombicide is perfect for solo board wargaming. I really love Zombicide. To be honest, out of all my favorite games that I have that I play individually and with friends, Zombicide is the game that highlights all my time with my family that I've played as far as gaming, and it is great board game, like for family and young kids too. Like just, and you know, it's something that we'll probably play over Christmas again too. It's just something as a tradition. We've
That's cool.
pulled in expansions and stuff. It's such a fun thing to bring people into, like miniature style wargaming.
Cool.
Final Girl 2. I don't know that one. If that's a board game, not familiar with that. So, hey Bill, I just returned from Bisbee, and when going through Tucson, I was wondering which shop you have your games at.
Tucson Games at Gadgets Park Place.
There you go.
Yeah.
I found so many people that don't even want to read the rule book or have a rule book that's less than 20 pages.
Yeah, that sounds about right. The whole idea of having to spend more than 5 minutes figuring something out is beyond their attention span.
Rusty's put a firm stake on the side of this discussion that he's on. And that's fine. We need that. I actually, I don't know.
I don't see it to that extreme, but
well, you know, the thing is though is that I guess it just takes all types. Like I have a desire to learn things that are complicated at times, but then and really enjoy that. But then there are times when I like things that are old just for the sake of them being old too. Like, and that's just really stupid. But I do like just the aesthetics of like older stuff at times, and I get drawn into it. Like the AD&D battle systems, I still want to play.
Yeah,
and it's purely like nostalgic, and like the crunchiness and then the look of it all and like all of it, I just get drawn in. And there are people that don't even care about that, and I don't blame them.
I agree with you.
But then there's things that I like that are simpler too.
Yeah, and some nights I know because I tend to game with like I guess I'm thinking board games with my brothers. It's at night, and yeah, there's some days after a long week and it's getting late, and I'm coming over we're going, it's whosever house we're going to, and I'm like, well, we got to play something a little bit lighter tonight because I don't know if I got the focus for, and then we have a blast doing that. But like I would just battle through if we played some of those deeper, crunchier board games, and so there's a place for both. It's not.
It's a hard thing having the responsibility to run a game though. Always. Yeah. Like sometimes when you're together with family and, I don't know if you're having your rum and Coke, Dan, and like, it's, you've had your Thanksgiving dinner or whatever it is. And like all of a sudden you've got to be the one that has to spearhead the game. I don't know. Sometimes for me, it can be, if you're always the one explaining the rules and like having to do that stuff, sometimes I'm like, let's just play Monopoly.
I know, especially in those kind of environments where it's a little chaotic and everybody's trying to have fun. We keep it to simple games that we've played before. Well, simpler that we've played before. But when we get together specifically for gaming after work through the winter, we'll tend to get more crunchier games. But yeah, you're right.
And how about when you have to somehow take it very seriously that you're not doing something correctly? Like,
yeah.
Have you ever had to be that guy? Like where like you're playing with a bunch of people and everybody's having fun and there's all different ages and genders and this and that. Mm-hmm. But then like you have to be like maybe it's just me, but like because you're running it, like you need to somehow make it a point to say that you're not doing it right.
You got to be the grognard. That what you're saying?
I usually don't care because it's about the fun. I mean,
I know what you mean. I know what you mean, but somehow
point of order. You're not correctly doing this. We have to go back to the previous turn and start over. The heck we're moving on.
when you're being asked to be the one to run it, sometimes you still feel feel the responsibility to explain, if you've asked me to do this correctly, this is the way we should do it.
Yeah, I do. I do feel responsible to have I'm going to be the one that's like needs to explain rule questions or solve disputes and stuff. And that's sometimes I'm like, well, I'd rather just let somebody else run it. But yeah, if it's my house and it's a game that I want to play, then I have it all set up. I've reviewed the rules. I'm so that it can go smoothly. If that's kind of what you mean, but.
Well,
Yeah,
we've had nights where we play Zombicide and we get all the way to the end and we still die, like in the last square. And if we do, like, even if it was like a mistake that we as a collective group made, the wrong decision, we generally own it. Like, and like rather than just saying we won and no, like blah blah blah, like re-roll it or whatever. Like we generally own it and just say, well, you know what, like we got to do this again because
Sure.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that just comes down to whatever you think is fun. I know some people like when their character dies, you say, well, by some lucky thing they managed, they got knocked unconscious and it's fine and they didn't really die. And that's fine.
The dragon spits out the armor that you're wearing, gets rid of the crunchy stuff for the good juicy insides.
Yeah.
But I made a lot alive, right?
Warmup says at Walkabout Games, just don't say my names 3 times. Tucson Games and Gadgets, Park Place Mall. Bill, we passed it on our way to Bisbee. We took Broadway to Houghton to I-10. Stopped at Dunkin' Donuts. Okay, we're getting play-by-play. Oop, we got Fraser here. It says strong coffee just gone at 5 a.m. And you're going to make me late again. Thanks for stopping in, Fraser.
Yeah,
we do appreciate it.
His channel is pure inspiration. I think I do enjoy watching it when I.
Somebody shared this. Sorry, old bean, but that is not the correct way to play pretend soldiers. I guess that was to me. That must have been to me. I don't know who added that, but that was to me. I think that was Bill. I have a good way to read a room. Maybe because he just did that. He just used it already.
That's great.
The Fraser's in the house. You ever watch that show, Frasier?
Used to back in the day.
Yeah.
It's come back again,
watched
right?
all of it about 2 years ago, I think it was.
Didn't he just put out another? Didn't it just?
He's got a new 10 episode series that just dropped on Paramount Plus or something like that.
Really? Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, can't keep track.
Yeah, I'll probably watch it.
Best spin-off show ever.
Yeah, it was. It was hilarious.
Yeah, Fraser's. Well, I'm assuming you mean this physical hobby room where I'm at. I know, and he has an awesome little cabin there.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, whole separate building. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm getting tired of having you take over the house. It's like if I could have a shed in the backyard, she'd probably tell me to do it.
I got I don't know if I guess I didn't mention it to you guys, but I got permission because you guys know that this is my temporary space, right? Like like we've been doing a renovation. We're out of our house for a bit of time. Well, we are going because one of the things my wife and I used to always do is play pool, and it's been years, and we were just thinking, we used to play pool a lot. We need to start playing pool again, and we're going to put a pool table in the basement, but I'm going to get it such that like one of my buddies that I play the Big Warhammer Fantasy Battle games with, I'm going to put a top on it so we can do war gaming. And so I've got it now. Like I've got the plan, so it's nice because we can do both. We're gonna set it up just so can listen to some tunes, shoot some pool in the basement, like hang out. And then also I am cutting in. I am having to change my little theater movie spot because that's important. Like I love watching films and stuff, and I'm gonna have to switch that up a bit. So I'm gonna sacrifice that a little bit so I can do this. But I think the wargaming space is worthwhile.
So how big of how big of a tabletop can you make off of a pool table then?
They're
I don't know anymore.
Was it 5x7, 5x8?
Well, there's a lot of different size pool tables, right? And
Right.
and I was my buddy that has a nice setup. He takes 2 4-foot by 4-foot wood boards and he puts, like the pink insulation that you do terrain with a lot. He glues that to the bottom of the board to fit snugly inside the table.
Okay.
And so then basically, he just pulls that board off and then like the insulation comes with it. But basically he has the board above the table so you don't damage the pool table. And then basically we play on that. Like he's got like all the mouse pad mats and like any of that stuff like on the table. It's got a really nice setup. I guess it really depends on the size of the pool table too, because like they sell. I'm not an expert on it, but just quickly looking at it, they sell upwards of 10-foot tables, like competition tables.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Is that I think ours was a 5 by 8 that we always had, but they're typically you can have 5 by 8, 5 by 9, 10, and 12.
So I was looking at between an 8 and a 9, and so I was hoping to achieve a 4 by 8. It's really like I'm not looking to do like
anything bigger than that.
So we had back in the day when we were playing a lot of board games and stuff in BattleTech when it first started, we had a ping pong table and a pool table, and we put like you just said, it was like we had a 4 by 8 sheet of plywood, and we lacquered the top of it basically, and I laid felt across that. Then we had a pool table, and I put felt across it. And those were could be our gaming tables or our for putting BattleTech. Back then, we were playing a lot of paper sheets all the time.
Yeah.
Or if you remember the board game, was it Europa Series? That was the Eastern Front.
Oh yeah, Europa. Yeah.
Yeah, the Europa Series. Yep. We had every single one of them. When we'd set them all up, we'd kind of marry everything up, and we could set the whole front up, and that was massive amount of space.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, that'll be a nice table space for you, Palmer.
Well, I want something that I can still like tear down, give you
a lot of flexibility. Yeah.
I when looking at some folks' rooms that they do and they have like stuff for Napoleonics and they have like permanent tables that are much bigger than the 4 by 8. Like that's awesome. Like it's just so inspiring to see what some people do. But I'm looking for something that I can still put there, tear down, to be able to still use the room for other things. But I just thought it was cool because I never thought I was going to have something like that. To be honest, I never thought I was going to have like a gaming spot that I could host a game more. Like I've hosted games in my house, but I've always compromised on the table size. I've always just used like our dinner table, and it's never been 4 foot wide. You know what I mean? Like for a game. And I've always had fun. Like don't get me wrong. Like played Marvel games, Musket Tomahawks, played all that stuff. We always adjusted for it, but I thought this would be kind of cool just to have that dedicated spot that I could use.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Oh, he's showing us his gaming table.
Here we go. Let me focus in here.
You can see right there the green felt. That's the original piece of plywood with the felt on it. Right there.
Oh, I see it.
I still have it. It used to you set it up so we could set it. What do you call it? I got it. Sawhorses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. Yep.
So I could set it on sawhorses.
Yeah.
Oh, we've established that you don't get rid of anything, Rusty.
That's a fact.
That's a fact.
I'm gonna do what Rusty did. I'm gonna show you my table.
All right.
Yep.
That's an
it.
8 by 6 table right there.
Wow.
So, and the edges are actually. We made this table custom. The edges are actually cushioned. So those are cushioned because we played board games and stuff, as well as miniature games. So, having
that's a great size.
Edges, it makes it comfortable playing board games. So
that's a great size table.
Yeah.
That's better than what I have right now. I don't really have anything other than just like a dining room dining room table that's kind of like just converted into one. So that's awesome.
That
And
is
didn't
cool.
you used to, the last time you were on the show, wasn't there a painting? Wasn't your wife painting in that spot before? Did you change it up or?
Yeah, and she's got her adjoining room over here on the right hand side. Is her dedicated her study with where she does work from home and she's currently playing video games right now. So computer games. She's correcting.
playing?
That's great.
What you playing?
What are you playing, honey?
I'm playing a hidden object serial killer demon game.
Okay, yeah, she says it's a serial killer demon hidden object game. So
cool.
I don't know the names of them. But
Yeah, I just started playing Master of Magic.
Okay.
It's called, I don't know, it's ENIGMATIS. The Mists of Raven. I can never say that.
The Mists of Ravenwood is what she's playing.
Oh,
cool.
Yeah. All right. So, yeah, my table is I guess it rivals Von Ketteringham's table.
Yeah.
He joins us in the chat, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good size.
6x8 table. Yeah. So.
Yeah,
The
I would
important
like.
thing is having enough space to throw everything you want down.
Yeah, I have a 4x8 sheet of plywood that's built into a permanent standing table right next to me here. That where you see me shoot my videos, or is usually with my terrain is set up on that table. But I've got a line where the 4x6 is, which is what is standard for bolt action. But I can go as big as 4x8, which was interesting. I did play with Mark one time, a bolt action game on the full 4x8 table, and that changed a lot of things. It was almost a different game with that extra space. I was just really shocked at that. So that was kind of cool. But I've got this in the basement, and my wife, the basement is pretty much whatever I want to do with it. There's space in the other room. I'd like to make a table that's 6x12. I think I could fit in the other room. And the reason I want to do that
that's your retirement plan.
Yeah, well, it wouldn't take much. A couple pieces of plywood and some 2x4s. I could screw that. It doesn't have to be gorgeous, just sturdy, you know.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
But my only real reason for that is, at least at this point, the American War of Independence, is my armies have even grown. Rusty have played a couple games, and I've added at least one regiment to my.
We don't have enough maneuver space,
and there is not enough room, and if they're going to get bigger yet, and then I see online people playing, you know, and they're typically on at least a minimum 8 and 10 foot is better. So I figured, you know, I'll go as big as I can go, or at least have it where maybe it hinges down and it can hinge up or something. But you know, for most games, I wouldn't need that much space. But I think I'm committed enough, and getting large enough armies built now that it'd be fun to get them all on the table and still have maneuverability and you know, some outflanking and stuff.
Sure.
But yeah, we'll see.
And the other thing too that I think it's worthwhile mentioning is, like, even in playing like Warhammer Fantasy Battle, if you have exactly 4x6, then you need a spot to like set your armies up too, right? Like, you know, on the side and stuff. And so it's kind of nice having that extra space.
That's what,
like, you know,
that's what I use my extra 2 foot down here on the 4x8 sheet of plywood where I've got the marked off. That's where, yeah, you set your armies. Like right now it's covered with stuff that I'm working on painting and building, but I clear that off when like Rusty comes typically, and then he can set up there. But yeah,
and a lot of times when we play, like we will put our stuff down like in the game area before we're setting up, and it really can be annoying sometimes. Like, and I can be as guilty of it as other people. But like, if you don't have enough room, sometimes you're like setting your stuff, and then like you're just assuming that the person knows that the one you moved is the one that's placed, but the other one's right around it or not.
Yeah.
And it can really throw you off when you're trying to do deployment as an opponent. If like really there's stuff around on the table that is not placed yet, but it's there just because you don't have a spot on the side to put it. That can be really annoying. And I literally, like at our big game when we had the 8,000 points that I was describing earlier, I was saying to one of my friends, I was like, okay, so that one and that one and that one are not deployed, but that one's deployed. Like you know, and so that's where when you have all that extra space, it's kind of nice.
Yeah,
we have 2 card tables, and I got plenty of space back here from Dan can say from the corner edge right here to my stairs, or which are there's the stairs are right back there.
That's
all
a massive room. Yeah,
it's the entire house right here. It's not opened up. When we first moved in, I had 2 tables set up. The whole basement was just, I could set a game up and leave it alone for a week or 2 if I wanted to, or months.
Oh boy.
But
do you game much at your house, Rusty? It seems
we
like
used
you go
to
out
play
for
a
games
lot
more.
at my house.
Yeah.
that's where Rusty and I game. When we get together, it's at his house or at my house. But yeah.
But having if you got the space and you got a couple extra card tables or something, you say, all right, you set them out. It's like, put your armies on the card tables, and then you can just take them from. And I also have lots of space over here too. I can set stuff up, or if I want to.
Yeah. You got a massive room. Mine basement's chopped into like 3 medium-sized rooms, but
yeah, the little room that you're in is nice little workroom that you're in, because you can see the door right there going into where the stairs are.
Yeah.
And the laundry room's on the other side. I got my laundry room you can see the door right there to my laundry room. So that corner right there to the edge of the house, that's my laundry room, which is about the size of the room you're in.
Yeah.
So, and then my workroom, it used to be as my workroom back here. You can see the little curtains right there. From there to the edge of the laundry room wall right there, it goes to the edge of the house, and that's where I keep. Right now, it's inundated with my plants, my jungle
that you bring in.
One of your other hobbies.
Yeah, it's like botany, it's like bonsai. That's one of my other hobbies I do.
Yeah, you got some cool stuff. Yeah, but I feel fortunate to have the space that I've got. Because I know a lot of people don't.
Yeah.
You have just as much house space as I do, but mine is stretched out lengthwise. Yours is up.
Yeah, ours is up. Yeah.
Dan lives in a tower. Like when you think of like the woman what is it? The story where she throws her hair out.
Rapunzel.
The window, Rapunzel. Yeah, like Dan lives just up. Like it's just one room, but like 10 of them. Yeah. Right, Dan?
It is. Well, yeah, because actually I have a basement, then we have our main floor, then we have a full second floor, and then we have a full attic too, but it's not finished.
Oh,
so
that actually
we've got a tower. It's an old house. I think it was built in 1914.
Oh, I love old houses. Like I absolutely love old houses.
Yeah, if you've seen his living room, it's freaking cool.
Thanks.
So much more character. I love the staircases that are more narrow.
Yeah, and I like the woodwork. Some of them have some really cool old trim woodwork, and
oh yeah, absolutely.
Higher ceilings are cool. But yeah,
I was lucky that my wife got involved with designing the layout for this gaming room. Yeah, she actually insisted that we have a mini fridge, stocked with beverages, and then we've got a wet bar in another corner, and then this wooden door behind me. It goes out to the porch where my smoker and my barbecue pit are out there.
Oh, sweet.
So when I host, I can I put out the card table that's full of smoked meats and stuff like that. So
nice.
That's cool.
So
it's a big part of the fun is it used to be, I know, like a game was just to come over for a game, but like I talked about with our Christmas event that we had, like it's nice to have a day where you can kind of kick back and game, but then have food and
social
just
event.
really make it an event. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, part of it is that when you don't have as much time in your life, you got to make room and for everybody else because they're taking time out of their busy schedule. And when you do something like that, it's make it into it's a social event type thing.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah. In the great distances that people travel here in Arizona, Mini Warmuck can attest. Driving from Phoenix all the way to Bisbee is a trek.
How far is it?
What was it about? It's halfway through the state, actually, from the middle.
About 5 hours.
Yeah, it's about 5 hours.
That is a long ride. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
So that's basically driving across Iowa.
Pretty much.
Well, yeah, or a little. Not. Yeah.
A lot of Canadians go to Phoenix. You're in Bisbee, is that correct, Bill? Is that?
I'm in Tucson.
You're in Tucson. Well, a lot of people.
Excuse me.
A lot of Calgarians where I live actually fly down and snowbird in Arizona. I don't know if you see many Canadians where you live, but like during that time. But there's a lot of folks do actually do that. On the Calgary side, on the Western Canadian side, a lot of folks go to Arizona or actually just to snowbird, like to get away from the winter. Whereas a lot of folks like on Ontario and Quebec actually go to Florida on the eastern side.
Wow. Huh. I didn't know that.
I know that most of the people that I know that go to Florida for the wintertime, there's a very small number that do go down to Phoenix or typically Tucson, that area.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, Wormut says tons of Alberta plates here. So exactly like Calgary, Alberta. You're absolutely right. And then he says tons of Iowa too.
There's a lot of Iowans, definitely.
I've never been to Arizona, like myself, and so there's a really populated suburb or area outside of Phoenix that I hear a lot of people talk about. I don't remember the name of it, but yeah, I think it probably depends on where you're at.
Oh yeah. Snowbirds.
And then you get my family when it gets cold and wet and snowy. They go west and north. They're the opposite.
Dakotas?
They go to Colorado, Montana, Idaho, Minnesota.
Yeah.
Because that's where the snow is.
Yeah.
Well, I know that Rusty would love it out here because of he does astronomy, right? With the skies are super clear out here.
And you do get a lot of. Last night I was outside for 3 hours laying on the ground because I watching the Geminid meteor shower last night.
Yep.
Yeah, and then the Tucson Gem and Minerals show is actually known throughout the world.
Yeah, that's a big one. That's a very popular one. Especially when I'm a geologist, so I know it's like, oh yeah.
Wormut's family is coming from Iowa in the late 60s.
Oh, no way.
Another Iowa connection to the Musty Show.
When I was born, late 60s, yeah.
Yeah, like actually minerals and all that stuff you're talking about are really quite big in the mountains. It seems to be a big deal out in Banff and Alberta. They have all the places with minerals from everywhere. I'm not sure. But I'm actually just basically following Rusty in every hobby that he does just about. Like I haven't taken up ham radio and I haven't taken up botany, but the astronomy I've started to get into, and then the motorcycling I'm like totally into. And then the wargaming, of course, is how we all met. But I enjoy the astronomy stuff. It's fun.
It's like last night I took one of my mats, laid it across the ground, took my sleeping bag, laid it down, then I took a wool blanket and wrap myself up, and I just laid because my backyard's got kind of a hill on it, so I'm just laying there looking up. It's like watching the meteors come through. There's some really good big ones that zipped through last night. It was pretty spectacular.
Oh yeah, Mini Warmut says the Clarinda, Iowa. That's
that's
south
the
of
west
us,
side.
an hour. Yeah, it's not far from. They're in our same high school, our same district for sports. Yeah, Clarinda. We went down to they had the Clarinda Band Jamboree back when I was in high school, middle school. Oh my God.
Small world. We're all connected.
Cool little
one
town.
way.
Yeah.
They always say that everybody's connected to someone else by at least 4 to 6 separations.
Yeah, I've heard numbers like that. Yeah.
This is what I worked on tonight. Nothing too impressive, but I just kind of worked in putting all the black in, like the hair and all the stuff in between the armor plates on the front and the back. Is what I kind of worked on.
Good progress.
Yeah, it was good.
Keep chipping away.
So it's real stressful to actually host the Musty show, so I had to do a lot of other stuff in between. But
yeah, I see. You're gonna sleep good tonight.
Yeah, no, I mean,
yeah, I got a lot done too. I got basically all the base coats on this, and then I'll start doing the washes and the highlighting, and then I actually use
brickwork or is that?
Yeah, it's brickwork. But what I'll do is I use spackle. I water down the spackle slightly and use a brush to work it into all the mortar joints, and then wipe it off with a wet rag and just till you get it kind of how you want it. And then, but before I do that, I have to spray it with matte varnish to seal the paint. Otherwise, the paint will start to bleed when you start working with it like that.
Yeah.
And that's how I get the brick and mortar effect. I got that off of a YouTube channel, Jason Jensen Trains.
Yeah.
He does some amazing modeling. So yeah, so that'll be done in the next week or so, hopefully.
Nice. Bill, what have you been working on besides your 3D printed model there?
Just painting up these Catachan. Oh, there it is.
Oh, the Catachan. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Catachan models.
That's
well, they're
cool.
They're knockoff, you know.
Very cool.
To face off against the Lizardmen.
Yeah, right here. I didn't even touch the Lizardmen today.
Nice.
Cool.
They got their Lizardmen with guns.
I like that.
So it's the definition of space weirdos, I think. So there you have it, Anna.
I know that Brad, who pops in here every once in a while, Palmer knows who we're talking about. He sent me some of the files. He bought some of those from, was it One Page Rules, I think it is, that put those out. So I have them, so if I want to print them off, I can.
Sweet.
Nice. It's kind of cool. Tonight I worked on my Battletech miniatures. I put one more coat on the reds and the blues here. So I've got these guys, you can see they're a lot more brighter.
Nice.
Yeah. I still got to put one more coat on both of. I basically got to go a really bright blue with kind of like a highlight on these guys, and then these guys I got to do a highlight of red, really bright red, and then go with kind of a dry brush of it on those to bring out the highlights a bit. They're the old Alpha Strike crappy plastics, so you can do what you can with them. But I got them from Tim, who was on the show. I traded some Chaos Marauders, I think 20 Chaos Marauders, and he sent me 24 mechs. So we kind of swapped out. So yeah.
Is Tim doing a Chaos Army again?
Tim is.
Oh, cool.
So
I remember when you mentioned that trade. I haven't seen anything on his channel about it, but I sometimes I miss
building something up
in the feed. Yeah, there you go, collecting to get ready.
Well, that's like my high elves. Like I built this, I've collected this high elf army a couple of years ago that is like for this massive future project that I haven't touched yet.
Yeah. But aren't you glad you have the models now though? Because man, that stuff's getting, even if it wasn't the prices, it's just you don't, they're getting harder to, people aren't parting with them, I guess maybe is what it is.
Well, people have become thinking about them as collectibles instead of
Yeah.
miniatures.
Where, a handful of years ago, even like the Bretonians, the 5th edition of Bretonians, I was picking those up off eBay really reasonable. I mean,
Yeah, right after
you go
the
back
big,
maybe 5 years ago-ish.
well, when they
6.
went to Age of Sigmar, people were so pissed they were getting out of fantasy. They were just
Yeah.
like pennies on the dollar. You could, if you
Well, yeah, and
wanted
it was-
to, you could
yeah.
have built a heck of a fantasy armor for nothing.
Well, and it was kind of fortunate because at that time, the people were wanting the 6th edition. Then Warhammer was dead anyway, but
Yeah.
the 6th edition were what, a large percentage of the people were kind of even the ones that were like, well, they still wanted to get back into it. Their nostalgia was 6th edition as opposed to 5th. So even some of those were fairly, the 5th was more affordable at that point because it's like that was before people, they didn't want them, and
Yeah.
but then they got out of sight, of course. But yeah, I'm always happy to have them and they'll always be there. I can paint them someday.
Yeah, Tim said I
just-
have a large Chaos War army.
Okay.
Okay,
I'm just
I knew
adding
that he said he sold his Beastmen, but I didn't realize that he still had a Chaos Warrior army.
Yeah, when they
He said he
split
sold
the
a couple armies.
back in the day, Chaos was like Beastmen, Chaos Warriors, and Demons all put
Yeah.
together.
All together. Yep.
And that's
So
when
6th edition, you could do the Chaos Hordes rules, which I plan on doing.
and then when they split
Okay,
everything up, then became the
I didn't
Beastmen
know these
army,
guys
the
are
Chaos
for-
Warrior army, and
Okay.
Demons.
I'm going to
Forgotten
do
6th
another 15 of these guys to make a solid unit of 20, and then plus probably up to 30 or something Chaos Warriors.
Cool.
And I got what I done in this guy tonight. Show this.
I've been busy.
You've been working more on that. You're putting in the checker
Checker.
patterns and stuff.
Yeah,
Nice.
that's how much the checkers I done tonight. There.
Do you
Cool.
draw yourself any guidelines on those checkers, or you just go, but just by feel?
Well, I just fill them in as I go.
Do you? Okay.
Yeah, just play it by your eye.
Yeah.
No, I put lines in. It's like-
Do you? Okay. You had me going there. I'm like, I use lines, but maybe I'm too fussy.
no, I draw the lines in, and then I just kind of go for it.
Yeah, that's what I do. Okay. Thank you.
Oh yeah, Ogre Kingdoms.
Empire and Ogre Kingdoms Tim has
Okay.
as well. That'll
I don't-
be
I-
really nice when the old world rules come out. You could be able to pull out your old armies again, which is cool.
I was
Yeah.
just about ready to
Try.
start building an ogre army when they went to Age of Sigmar, and it's like I was about ready to start. And okay, no, not doing it.
Did you see today by chance it was just leaked or whatever today? They showed a box. It was flat folded box that was going to be for the Tomb Kings release. It looked
Not
there was a
Bretonians
stack
and
of them.
Tomb Kings?
No, it was
Not together?
literally it was just Tomb Kings as a separate. Had 93 miniatures. It had looked like a rule book. It had looked like rangefinders, some templates, and some dice.
Do they look like
$50
old models or new models? Like,
They basically showed you what they were already going to do if you've been following the
I only
feeds
saw
that
the
they've
one
been using.
miniature on the Tomb
Okay,
Kings. I
'cause
didn't.
It's largely, I'm not following the Tomb Kings as close, but it's largely exactly the old miniatures it looks like. And then, but they added this big undead dragon thing that everybody's calling, looks like a crocodile.
Yeah,
But, and it's massive. And then there's, can't remember that, like some sort of, I'm not as up on it, but some sort of like Ushopti things. There was
Oh,
several
Mhm.
sculpts that were different, new. But
I'd be into that.
the core of it was going to be the old, and they just showed a stack of hundreds of those boxes, folded like after they unfolded, like when they print them, sitting on like
Sure.
a pallet. And so that
So it's
makes you
coming
think
up, right?
then they'll do the same thing for the. Yeah, they said it'll be early in 24 is the release, and people
Yeah.
were speculating February. But
I'm thinking that's probably going
It's
to be
soon. It will be
$250
soon.
with a $100 box of miniatures.
that's everybody's guessing. They've realistic people were guessing anywhere from like 175 to 350.
I'm saying
Somebody
minimum
said it-
250 minimum.
They said it'd be 600, but it's coming with the rule book too. It's a little hard to see on the picture. The box is all printed, but it shows the rule book, whether it's hardcover, whether it's full size, whether it's all the rules, or
somebody's
just
saying
rules.
600.
Some people were saying 600, going by what they were seeing, the number of models compared to some
No
recent
way.
releases. And if it's
There's
600,
no way.
that'll never fly.
There's
you
no
want
know,
way
I
they're doing
agree.
600.
I agree. But they were showing
Because
that these
they're not. Nobody's going to buy it at 600.
nobody will
Yeah.
buy it, I know. But what they're saying, there was something that was like half that many models for. I don't follow the GW releases,
Yeah.
but they had their math was because it was a similar release with half the models for Warhammer 40K or Heresy or something,
Yeah.
and it was like 300. So, but I
You
mean,
can't
there's
go,
no
you
way.
can't go based on weight of plastic, though.
Yeah, and I don't think you can go over 200 or
Ugh.
250 max, or there's no way.
You know, like
All right,
Canadian
this
is
was the
different than
last-
US, but
Box
Yeah.
set that came out for 40K. I think
Okay.
this is the 10th edition rulebook, like massive tome.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was 250 for the starter box set.
But how many miniatures was it? See, I mean, that's the problem that I may be seeing with that release they're doing. That's going to be massive amount of miniatures. Even if you went with somebody had done the math, even if they went with like 6th edition prices, it was going to be pretty crazy. So I
Yeah.
don't know how that's going to work. It's all going to revolve around price point because I think there's enough interest, and I think people will buy it unless it's cost prohibitive. You know.
Well, most of those miniatures are going to be just reprints of the original plastic, so that's not
Yeah,
a lot
them are.
of it's expense to go in it. That's might be one thing they're not looking at.
But look at what they're selling the Lord of the Rings miniatures at. Those are miniatures from 2000, 2001, 2002 when the movies came out. It's the same plastic sprues, and they're
So let me
charging
ask you-
$45 for those old plastic goblins that weren't even that great in the beginning.
So as somebody that didn't play 7th and 8th, one of the questions that I've had, like I understand with Bretonians that they hadn't made like any releases like significantly after 6, you know, to my understanding.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
they
so
did
I
nothing.
understand why they're going back to the old ones for that. But for armies that where they've released, so like Beastmen, as somebody that's kind of interested in Beastmen,
Passingly interested.
Just I have passing interest. For Beastmen, you know, that had releases after my army. Like I have medals from 5th and 6th edition, you know, and prior, but like
Mhm.
like when they've released in 7th and 8th models that are plastics, I fully expect those are the ones they're going to release, like not the earlier ones.
That's what I'm thinking too.
Would you agree with that? Or like with the Tomb Kings, when did they release Tomb Kings prior to this?
Well, you had Tomb Kings models since what, 2000, 2005 range.
I'm trying to think.
Everything I have for Tomb Kings no longer has a box, so I'm not sure. They're all painted.
Isn't this the most? This was when they came out with those models that they're re-releasing, and this is 2002. And
Yeah.
this is some
Okay.
of the same miniatures that they'll be releasing in that starter.
Some of them, huh? So the thing that I'm just wondering is,
Same as
like if
Bretonian.
like when they're supposed to do high elves, like am I expecting that they're going to do 7th and 8th edition plastics, or are they going to go back to the 6th? Is what I'm wondering.
Well, the High Elves, they had new plastics for them in 8th edition. 7th.
Yeah,
Presumably,
so-
they'll use the. I'm assuming they'll go with their latest models that they
Yeah,
had
and that's
made.
the disappointing thing for me. Like I actually just I only want to jump in if it's like the older stuff, like if that
I
makes
know.
sense. Like that, I
That's
don't.
same-
want to
I
jump in
wish
if
the
it's the new
Bretonians
stuff.
were 5th edition. I
Yeah,
have a passing interest in some of the 6 models, but some of them I wouldn't buy anyway. I just don't care for them personally. But I know some
Yeah.
people love them. So
I
I'll
have
just
no
have to
reason
see.
to buy. I have no reason to buy like the recent Bretonian unless they have like a model that they never redid and then they're going to re-release it again. And I wanted it. I have no desire.
Well, then they're adding like foot knights they're brand new models. So there'll be a
Mhm.
unit of foot knights with either single-handed or double-handed weapons.
Mhm.
And then there's the new prophetess being released and the new standard bearer being, but largely it's going to be the old men at arms from 6th edition, the archers from 6th edition, all the knights from 6th edition. That's basically
Mhm.
more or less been confirmed. So then you're getting, it's mostly 6th edition. But
Yeah.
I mean, I think if they price it around $200, but that just seems. Or usually when you think of GW pricing, it's like think of what you think would be a realistic, and then you got to like add at least like a third or half again more, and that's what it is.
Yeah.
You know,
True.
but I just don't see how they could move it if it's the starter box is more than 200 US.
$600 is going to be tough because then
Yeah.
you're immediately thinking that it's not going to be young folks.
No, but is that their target? Maybe it depends
don't know.
what their objectives are and what they think they have invested in it. They're
Trying to
obviously not
drag
investing a lot because they're using old kits, you know?
Yeah,
Chris says
250
250
Canadian is
Canadian.
what, about 200, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Pretty
maybe
much.
around 200 US. And that's kind of where I think realistically it needs to be, but I don't know if that's what they're doing. Well, we'll know soon because it looks like I'm sure it was supposed to be some, leaked photo, and then some people chimed in. I was reading before we got on and they were like, yeah, well, they work in the print industry. And when they look at it, they said it looks legit. Doesn't look photoshopped. Obviously, GW leaked it. I mean, I'm sure.
Of course.
It's, but I think we're getting down to the nitty gritty. They've been releasing every Monday talking about a new part of the rule set, whether it was magic or combat or archery or morale or movement. And they're running out of things to talk about. So I think there might even be an announcement like around Christmas or New Year's for pre-orders would be my guess for like probably a February, March release would be my guess.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if they're going to release something for pre-release, they typically do it a week beforehand. It's been
For pre-orders even? Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they do. So it's like they'll come out and announce it. Hey, next week we're going to be releasing this. You can pre-order this Saturday and get yours.
Oh.
So you
I
can get,
remember
if you're
back in the
online.
2000s, it was like you'd pre-order it but it was like it was a month or 6 weeks before it was supposed to come out. I haven't gotten any GW stuff since then, except paint.
Yeah, now it's about a week.
Okay, didn't know that. But then that'll be interesting. Do they have enough stock? Is that going to be the big panic thing that everybody's going to buy it and then it's sold out for? Because I know that I hear the chatter that that's what they do. Purposely create a shortage and then it's a FOMO thing. But I'm mostly just interested in seeing the rule book at first because the models, they'll be around. They'll reprint them. I've got a Bretonnian army I could play. Just got to adjust the base sizes because they're changing all the base sizes. But
you're gonna change your base sizes?
No, I'm gonna use movement trays that
Yeah.
space them out. There's no way so I'm not worried about that.
Well, Tim says Beastman models didn't change that much from 6th to 8th. I know my Gores and my Ungores pretty much changed because I have all metal Gores that are in the 6th edition rulebook, but then in 7th and 8th they came out with all the plastics. Maybe not change that much in style, but I do like the 6th edition metals a bit better. They're a bit more cartoonish, but that's kind of the aesthetic that I like.
Yeah,
legitimate. But yeah, they probably had other ones that carried over that never were updated. I'm guessing. But Wormet says, okay, I'll be learning to play bolt action opening. What say you about the game? Seems to be easy to learn.
Yeah, it's very easy to learn.
Oh, there's another.
That might be a whole nother show.
Yeah.
we could talk about that for a long time.
It's extremely easy and simple to learn. And
yeah.
I think Americans are the easiest force to start with.
Yeah, with their fire maneuver rules.
It's very forgiving.
Yes.
When you don't have your guys positioned properly, that solves a lot of mistakes that you make.
Yeah.
Chris says
I'd say that if you're going to start a bolt action army, Americans would be the first one to go with.
Yeah. They're the easiest.
That's the ones I went with, and I'm currently still using before I do my Germans.
Yeah, and I would
the Russians would be second because they're cheap and forgiving too.
Yeah, I think the Germans are more complicated to play. It just takes more headspace, and they got more choices, and their squads are intermixed with lots of different weapons typically. So it gets to be, it's just for a beginner, it's not a hard army to play, and they can play well and competitively. But just as a first army, I wouldn't choose that. But
I'm still going to play with my Americans for a bit in the 2nd edition before I start Germans.
Yeah. Well, and you've got wargaming experience. It's not. I mean, I guess I'm also thinking like somebody that's even maybe new to just historicals, but it's a little more complicated.
Yeah,
I
the
think,
army you do not want to start with is what my friend Jesse did. He bought the German SS.
Oh,
And
well, I'm
yeah.
trying to think.
he bought it, and I was like, "Do you want me to buy that off you?" Because I
Warma
don't
did
think
start
I'm gonna
with. He
those
started with
guys.
the Germans, right? I think he started with Germans. To be honest, I think when he bought the
Yeah.
army box, I think so. I thought
And
that
you
was on his
can.
YouTube channel.
It's not. I mean, I'm just if you had no direction and no preference. I mean, go with the army that you want to play. That's for 100% do that. The models you want to paint or the history you
Oh
like.
no, he
or
said
the nationality.
Italians.
Oh,
He said
Italians.
Italians, but I thought do you have more than one box? Do you have more than?
Italians
Did you
use
get
a
more
lot
than
of
one?
German equipment, mostly.
Yeah, I just bought the Italian box. I got the Burger Sally army.
Oh
box.
yeah, because they just released the plastic Italians. There's a whole Warlords just released a bunch of Italian stuff.
Yeah, that's why I bought that army box, and I need to slowly add to it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of my slow grow armies.
Yeah,
So I want to do North Africa.
yeah, that's a cool choice. I know one of their special rules isn't defensive positions or something that if you're on the defensive side, you get two free defensive positions you can put your guys in.
Oh, I confused it. It was
crazy.
actually Chris that said Italians, not Warma. I actually just read that wrong.
Italians
He's
would
saying
be
Italians are a challenge. Yeah, I think he is Germans, is what Chris said. I thought so too, based on his video.
Thing. Yeah. Italians.
Well, there's one thing. There's one thing to choose like the ideal army as the first army, but at the same time, people probably have started with every one, as you guys said.
Oh yeah. I always say start.
Oh, he's got actually both Americans and Germans, so he could start with either one.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, the island assault box is basically just a really small amount of troops. You need like 2 boxes of those just to even think about getting started.
It's such a fun game. It's my favorite game still that I've actually played. I haven't played it near as many of different games as for sure Bill or Rusty, and probably Palmer even, to be honest.
No, you played a lot more than me.
Yeah,
you played a lot more than me.
Different game rules, or I'm talking about different game rules.
Oh, I was saying bolt action.
No, I've played more bolt action than you have.
Sure.
But as
Bill
far
and I
as
probably played a lot of different games.
Yeah, see, I haven't played that many different games.
Yeah, I would put myself in the same category as you, Dan. I'm played some, but probably
I've read
not
a lot of
nearly as
rules, and I've watched a lot of videos, and I have a passing knowledge of a lot of different games, but I don't have firsthand experience. But bolt action is probably my top favorite.
Yeah.
I have to say, back in the 90s when we had our game club here in Des Moines, every week that we were free, it's like I'd say 2 or 3 weekends a month I was playing at our local game store. It was either Napoleonics, American Civil War, or some other type of game. Even our own, it's like when we designed our own game system, we were even playing that too.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, the dice bag mechanic is really super cool, and it keeps both players are 100% involved all the time.
Yeah,
you could be next up at any second, and then
we
it's a
instituted
fun mechanic.
We put that basically into BattleTech. Instead of dice, we use cards. Mm-hmm. So you take every mech has its own card. You shuffle it up, and you just flip. It's like, okay, when your card comes up, you go. You have no choice in the matter. So it's totally random. Instead of, all right, you go. Okay, I'll move a mech. Then you move back. It's like that just stretched the game out for 2 to 3 times as long as it should have been. So by using cards, it's like go.
Okay.
So you got people you're sitting at the table just waiting for you to move. So it's like, let's go. That's why in our last game we played a company on company, which the guys are saying, oh, it'll take you 12 hours to play that. And it's like, no, it doesn't. You just have to be committed.
Almost any game you play with a group, you got to everybody's got to stay focused.
Yeah.
Well, gentlemen, I think we've we've actually done a nice
The
additional
3-hour
topic
mark there.
in addition to our other 2 topics, and it's been good. Actually, had a lot of folks stop by tonight, which was really nice, and Bill, appreciate you actually stopping by and in kind of short notice. I appreciate that. It was really great to have your thoughts on these topics. Good to see you again.
Yeah.
All right. The next one
good to
is
see you.
possibly the 28th of December.
Yeah, so we should probably talk about that, Rusty, because I'm not sure I'll be in town, and so I'm almost wondering we might need to do an announcement video like we normally do as to whether it's then or beginning of January. I'll have to chat with you. I was thinking about that during our show.
So
I
otherwise,
might
I
not
think
be
it's-
here.
Is it going to be December or January 7th?
It would be
maybe?
it'd be January like 4th or 6th or something would be the one after that.
Let me look at the calendar real quick.
Yeah.
The 4th.
Yeah, I'm thinking that might be easier for me. But I don't know, Dan. I'm not sure what your plans are too for the holidays. and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm around. I farm, so I'll be around
Okay.
here. But yeah, I don't know if I don't have a family thing or anything. But yeah, who
Okay.
knows what's going on that time of year? You know, might be getting together with somebody that's got some time off or something. So, but
For
yeah,
those
you
of
can
you
reach
still
out when it
watching-
gets closer if you want.
For those of you still watching it, this is recorded. Rusty and I were talking about doing a painting challenge for the new year. Maybe picking something in January. It could be as small as one model to a squad or whatever you want to do. Could be anything, just something you want to do before the end of the month, and maybe just do a bit of a painting challenge if you want to post things up on the Musty Wargamers painting or Musty Wargamers Facebook page. And so we're chatting about that, and so we'll probably announce that probably even before the next show, before
Or the end of the year.
end of the year. Just kind of do something.
We'll throw a warning order out there for people to know that something's coming up so they can start thinking about it.
Cool.
Sounds good.
Awesome.
All right, everybody. Well, thanks for joining the show. Thanks for everybody in the comments. Really appreciate it. Stopping by.
Yeah.
Thanks for inviting me.
Not a problem.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
thanks
good
for
to see you,
coming
Bill.
by. It was awesome to have you by. Yeah.
It's nice that you had time to be able to, instead of going to the local game club.
Ouch.
Hey. All right.
Well, he's going to start posting on YouTube shortly.
Yeah, I'm always looking forward to seeing your
You're probably
videos.
posting more than I am. You're probably posting more than me. So.
Mhm.
Post all over the place.
No, you put
Post
a lot
and
on
post
Facebook.
often.
So.
Once
All
a
right,
week.
everybody.
We gotta do us once a week.
Yeah. All right. Good night, everybody.
We don't see you. Have a happy holidays
Yeah.
and Merry Christmas and all that stuff. And talk to you guys later.
Good night, everyone. Merry Christmas.
Good night.